And welcome back to Philadelphia, where it's well documented the Eagles are #1 in the NFC, but finishing with 2 straight defeats is not the way to get ready for a playoff run. The Bengals' goal to close out the season with a 2nd straight win and get to 8-8 and build momentum for next year. They'll be coming back to Philadelphia after these messages. And we welcome you back to Philadelphia, as now one of the greatest Eagles on the field and off, Reggie White, is remembered. We send it to the public address announcer, Gary St. Hours.
Fans, last Sunday, the Philadelphia Eagles family lost one of their most beloved heroes in Reggie White. The same day, a natural disaster tragically claimed thousands of lives. Please join us in a moment of silence for Reggie White and all the victims of the tsunamis in Africa and Asia.
This is Don Criqui with Steve Tasker back at Lincoln Financial Field, home of the Eagles. And there is Marvin Lewis in the 2nd year as head coach of the Bengals, looking to complete a 2nd 8-8 season. And if he does, it'll be the first time that the Bengals have had non-losing seasons in consecutive years since '89 and '90. So they're building, and there is Andy Reid, who's done a sensational job with this team, having the Eagles in the National Conference Championship game the last 3 years. But they were all losses. He's also the executive vice president of football operations, a guy with 5 straight divisional championships, 3 straight NFC title games. But the pressure's building. This is a show-me city like a lot of them.
There's no place where the expectations run higher than in Philadelphia, and no place where the consequences for failure are heard more loudly by the organization.
And here is the kickoff. Hit downfield. And bringing it back is Kenny Watson for the Bengals. He crosses the 25 and gets close to the 28-yard line. Down to make the stop is Mike Labinjo. A 21-yard return. John Kitna starting again at quarterback today to the injured Carson Palmer, who's out with a knee strain. A limited playing time this year for Kitna. Last year he took every snap at quarterback. Anderson, one of the best tackles in football. Willie Anderson at right tackle, going to his 2nd straight Pro Bowl. Pushman Zada really emerging as a wide receiver with 67 catches this year. Kitna and the Bengals go 1st and 10. Rudy Johnson drives straight ahead, gets almost 5 yards. Stopped by Dhani Jones as we look now at the Eagles defense. Hugh Douglas, a 10-year veteran, starts at defensive end. Left here for a while, went to Jacksonville, has come back. Jeremiah Trotter's heading to his 3rd Pro Bowl, a middle backer for the Eagles. He's been a difference maker. And the free safety today is J.R. Reed, a rookie from South Florida, and a top kick returner. Right back they go, and this is Rudy Johnson again. Rudy needs 81 yards today to set a Bengal single-season rushing record. Trotter makes the stop.
Well, this Philadelphia Eagles defense, they do give up some yards on the ground. They've been maligned, and that is a concern for Andy Reid and his coaching staff. But I'll tell you what, Don, they do one thing very well. They do not let their opponents score points. And when you're talking about wins and losses, it's all important when you break it down. The only statistic that matters for a defense is points allowed.
Jim Johnson, the defensive coordinator, as far as he's concerned, too many blitzes is not enough. Terrific coordinator. They try to go to Chad Johnson, so the Bengals are quickly 3 and out on their first possession. Sheldon Brown defending at cornerback. And the Bengals will punt the ball.
You know, we said in the open, Don, the one thing that the Bengals did by resting McNabb and Javon Curse and Michael Westbrook is that they removed all the excuses for the Bengals. Now, the Bengals are a team that they feel they've taken a huge step forward this year. And they're going to fight to be 8-8 like they were last year. But this is a team that felt like they're ready to take the next step. But if they can't beat the Eagles without the Eagles stars in the field, that's going to be a big blow to their confidence.
Well, that was Carl Lawson punting the ball, a short punt. And the Eagles will get good field position as Reno Mahi comes up and fields the ball. He is tackled by the long snapper, Brad St. Louis. And the Eagles go on offense after just a 29-yard punt and a 7-yard return. So the Eagles will start Donovan McNabb at quarterback, having an extraordinary season. Now it's going to be Detner's going to come right out. They're not even going to give McNabb a series, it looks like, Steve.
Yeah, Donovan McNabb was out running sprints before the game, throwing the football, getting some exercise, because I guess he knew, unlike the last game Monday night, he's not even going to get one series today, and I think it's the smart move by Andy Reid. There's a little murmur going through the crowd here.
It sure is. I think Donovan was expecting to play. We had a false start by the right guard, it looked like, on the Eagles. So they did say that Reid did tell us he wants to get a lot of reps for Coy Detmer, the backup.
5-yard penalty remains first down.
Tom White, our referee. Steve Shulo looked like he was the false starter. There's Trey Thomas at left tackle, one of the best in football. Perennial Pro Bowler. Pinkston is now the deep threat, catching the ball. He's fast and can catch it deep. And without T.O., he's the guy they're going to be looking too long. On 1st and 15, Detmer stands in. Close to an open receiver. Beautifully received by L.J. Smith, the tight end. And he's down to the 31-yard line. Taken down by safety Kim Herring. As Smith, a second-year tight end out of Rutgers, makes his 33rd catch of the year.
Well, last Monday night, Detmer did not look very good. I mean, this was a guy that struggled, completed one pass. And this week, I think Andy Reid wanted to make sure he got him started well, gave him a chance to go right down the field. And when you can do that early, that sets you up so much, because now the defense of the Bengals is thinking about it, and they won't forget it. It'll open some other things up for Detmer.
They gain on the play at 30 yards, and now Detmer dropping again. There's a penalty marker down. The ball is completed and then separated from the receiver. Greg Lewis is hammered as he makes the catch. Well, you always have to harken back to what Joe Gibbs, somebody once said to him, the most important position in football is, and he said quarterback. What's the second most important position?
Offside, number 91. Defense, 5-yard
Joe
penalty.
Gibbs said backup quarterback, because you got to have a guy there you can win with if your top guy goes down.
No question. And right there you saw, as you see the defensive lineup for the Bengals, the Eagles got caught in a double shift, which it went against the Bengals, which is amazing because the Eagles were in motion. But that's a quarterback. The quarterback calls all shifts in motion in the huddle, and Coy Detmer called that wrong.
Other stoppage of play. As the Eagles now with Coy Detmer, he's in his 8th year out of Colorado. He's always been an Eagle. He's a brother, of course, of the Heisman Trophy winner from BYU. Coy played at Colorado. And now Tom White getting this sorted out.
Yeah, they called that on a Cincinnati Bengal, but at the snap there were 2 Eagles in motion. Now we're going to have a little tea party here as the...
Always good to take time and get it right. But the Eagles, I mean, everybody's speculating. Now, Steve, you went to 4 straight Super Bowls with the Buffalo Bills. Sometimes you had a week off, and you rested guys. What you're thinking?
On the previous play, we had offsides, number 91 defense. But prior to the snap, Philadelphia had 2 men moving at the same time and never got reset, which was an illegal shift. The fouls will offset and replay first down.
Well, we're getting a good look at Tom White to start the game.
Yeah, we went into a time warp there. That play that you just saw and the conference by the officials never happened. Now it's still 1st and 10 at the Bengals 32-yard line. But yeah, I did play in some games like this, Don, in my career where the home field was sewn up and the game didn't help or hurt your chances or standing in the playoffs. And we handled it the exact same way the Eagles did. Rest your best players.
But you still want to be sharp because, as McNabb emphasized, this is our more than a dress rehearsal. We have to play well. We don't play again for 2 weeks. The weekend of the 15th and 16th, they'll host a divisional playoff game here, will the Eagles?
Well, and that's a concern. I mean, you do want to stay sharp, but you forget. I mean, it's not like after this game the Eagles are going to all split up and go out and spend a long weekend in Vegas. I mean, these guys are going to stay. They're going to practice. They're going to throw. I mean, it's not like Donovan McNabb is going to go play golf for 2 weeks. He's going to be playing and practicing football, and he's going to do it healthy, rested, refreshed, while every other team in the NFC is going to be biting, kicking, clawing, scratching to get here to Philadelphia to play him.
Right now, the Eagles go to the run, and they give the ball to second-year back Reno Mahi. Eagles really looking to put up points with their backup unit, and Cincinnati's a good team to do it against. They allow almost 25 points a game. But as you were talking, Steve, Detmer didn't do much on Monday night in St. Louis, nor did the third quarterback, Blake. In fact, the Eagles' two backups, as we look at Donovan McNabb, Detmer and Blake were a combined 5 of 20 against the Rams for a total of 46 yards.
McNabb was in there for one series and outshined both quarterbacks in the rest of the game.
Detmer buys time with a good fake, a deep drop. He gets it out to his back, Mahi, and he's inside the 30 on a 3rd down and 11 play. And he's taken down by a rising standout, a defensive back, a rookie, Madu Williams.
Yeah, Madu Williams, acquired by Cincinnati with the draft pick they got for the trade with Corey Dillon and the New England Patriots, and he has played well. It was a huge pickup. Madu Williams has really emerged as a guy they've looked forward to. Marvin Lewis told us the youth in his defensive secondary has really been a pleasant surprise for the Bengals.
Now, as the Eagles stall, Steve, we're going to have a field goal try by one of the best, Akers. This will be a 45-yard attempt. He's hit 26 of 30 field goals this year. That one is no good. 16 of his 16 of the 26 have been outside the 40. So Marvin Lewis sees his team picked up by the Eagles failing to score, and the Bengals will have the ball for a second time when we come back to the great city of Philadelphia. Back to Philadelphia. Don Criqui with Steve Tasker. Hitting it, drops, throws an out pattern, gets a little bit on the catch. Not much. Dhani Jones is right there to defend. You got the latest NFL playoff race scenarios with updated brackets for the wild card and divisional playoff weekend. Just click on NFL at CBSSportsline.com. So now it brings up 2nd down and 9 for Kitna and the Bengals. They're coming off a come-from-behind win at home over the Giants last week. Not a whole lot for Rudy Johnson, but he finds his way, goes wide, and powers his way out to the 44-yard line. On a 2nd down and long, he got a gain on about 7 yards on the play before Reed knocked him out of bounds.
Rudy Johnson, the workhorse for the Bengals, has been all year, creeping up on a club record, as you mentioned earlier, Don. A club record that looked insurmountable when you thought, wow, they're losing Corey Dillon. Who are they going to replace him with? Rudy Johnson has been a guy that this club and his teammates have really embraced.
Yeah, they love Rudy Johnson. They say he's a guy. He started as a special teamer, 4th-round draft choice out of Auburn 4 years ago. He's in there pounding, never complains no matter how beat up he might be. And he's delivered the big numbers, coming in with almost 1,400 yards rushing this year, but this time he's stopped short. And again, it's a punting situation for the Bengals as they're flat coming out on offense.
They really are flat. They're not the same team. And you could say that's a little bit of Carson Palmer not being in there, but they already had a full week under John Kitna, and really you'd think they'd have their timing down, but then too, they're not playing a 5-8 struggling football team. They're playing the Philadelphia Eagles, who are home field advantage sewn up.
Yeah, at this point they're playing the Super Bowl early line favorite from the National Conference. Dexter Wynn fields the punt on the run and gets to the 24-yard line. So with Troy Detmer starting the game at quarterback, looks like McNabb won't be in there at all. The Eagles are ready to go when we come back. A 33-yard punt. We're back to Philadelphia as the Bengal offensive team back on the bench, unable to move the ball early against the Eagles defense, and now the Eagles with Detmer at quarterback go 1st down and 10 from their 24-yard line. Detmer undersized, but he's got a big heart. He's a tough guy. At 6'1", 195. Here's an out. And it's going to be good for a short gain as the ball is quickly triggered to Billy McMullen. How about the Vikings and the Redskins? Greg Gumbel has more on that. Greg.
All right, Don, the Vikings, in search of a playoff berth today, have fallen behind the Redskins. This is Patrick Ramsey, 6 yards to Chris Cooley, the touchdown with the extra point. It's a 7-0 Redskins lead coming up on 8 minutes to play in the first. Don and Steve.
So the plot thickens as you see what Minnesota needs. They can clinch a playoff berth with a win today at Washington or a Carolina loss or a St. Louis loss. Now on second down. Detmer throws the ball up. It's for grabs, and it's finally taken back by the intended receiver, Greg Lewis, with just his 12th catch of the year. And a penalty marker's down in the Bengals secondary. The play goes, it's a 3-yard gain.
You know, Don, as we talk about the controversy of resting your players and all the things that go into it, there's no way Andy Reid is making the wrong decision here, because you get so much benefit out of it. Yeah, there's a risk of maybe you lose a little sharpness or whatever, but I'll tell you what, Marvin Lewis wishes he was in Andy Reid's spot right now. I mean, this is a team in Philadelphia.
Offensive pass interference. Number 82, blocking downfield prior to the pass. 10-yard penalty, remains second down.
And at nearby Baltimore, there's points on the board as we go back to Greg Gumbel.
Thank you, Don. Yeah, Baltimore Ravens are looking for a postseason berth as well. Kyle Bowler, shovel pass, a yard for Terry Jones in the touchdown. And the Ravens have pulled even with the Miami Dolphins. 7-7 in the first, guys. Well, Baltimore needs some help. I mean, they've got to have Buffalo, Denver, and Jacksonville all lose, and they have to win to make the playoffs.
So it's a steep hill for the Ravens to climb or to fly. What they're going to do is Justin Smith now makes the stop on Reno Mahi. So guys that haven't got a lot of playing time getting a chance to win their letter today, Steve, for the Eagles.
Yeah, earlier, you know, we talked about some of the big players for the Eagles coming out and getting some exercise. Donovan McNabb, even Dorsey Levens, who played on Monday night, was out exercising, thinking he probably wasn't going to get in. There's Hugh Douglas on the sidelines waiting for the defense to take the field again. It's a really strange situation if you're on the sidelines for the Eagles, but one they've earned, and it's one that they don't take lightly.
And as Marvin Lewis told us, Steve, last night, he said Andy Reid knows he'll be judged on what his team does in the postseason. Here's a downfield throw by Detmer, and he's on the numbers of Freddie Mitchell. They call him first down Freddie. More than half his catches are for first downs, and that was one of them, a 28-yard gain.
Oh, and what a throw by Detmer right down the middle of the football field. Just makes it over the very deep drop of the linebacker. You see there, that's Caleb Miller, who barely missed that ball, dropping very deep. What a great throw by Detmer and a good catch by Mitchell.
So the Eagles now with early big play and get the ball out to their 47-yard line. And now a timeout is signaled by the Bengals as they want to organize their defense, getting hit early with some pass plays. We'll be coming back to the link, as they call it, in a moment. The Eagles are a confident group, and well, they should be. They've won more games over the last 5 years in the regular season than any other team in the NFL. As Detmer throwing beautifully, 4 for 4, and now 5 for 5. Then the ball is lost. And I think he was out of bounds before it was picked up. Let's see.
It was fumbled.
Kevin Casefarhan was on it.
Yeah, and Casefarhan caught it, but did he get beat down at the end? What a tight bang play. Now they're calling it incomplete. And that takes care of everything.
Pass, he never had possession of the ball.
Well, you can tell what Lewis thinks. Now watch this. He catches it. 1, 2. He's got that ball. That's a catch. Then it comes down. Watch right there. And that bounces. That's Brian Simmons right behind. Watches Simmons. Picks that up, and he comes down with it, but it's out of bounds. And that should have been a completed pass. I think Andy Reid is going to try and challenge this.
Philadelphia is challenging the ruling on the field if this is an incomplete pass.
It did look like a catch.
Looked like a catch. He lost it putting it away, and I think that's all you need to know. This should be a catch. He's got it, loses it after he takes 2 steps. That'll catch. That's a catch. With
Steve Tasker, this is Don Criqui back at Philadelphia as we're having a review right now The Eagle coach is holding their breath every play, hoping that nobody gets hurt. And Steve, that is a tough way to play the game. And we get a report now that a starting linebacker for the Eagles, Mark Semino, is getting his ankle
After
X-ray.
reviewing the play, the ruling on the field stands. Incomplete pass. Philadelphia is charged with a timeout.
Yeah, I disagree. And that's the rule. He said if he doesn't have it and put it away and finish the completion of the catch, it doesn't count. But you're asking a lot. I mean, that's a catch. He's putting it away, gets both feet on the ground, and as he's tucking it away, the ball pops loose, and you've got to give the defense a chance on a play like that. I mean, you see he's got both hands. He starts to tuck it away, and then the ball comes out. They still don't give him the catch, and that happens because the NFL doesn't want any cheap fumbles. They'll let you fumble it and call it, but they don't want any cheap fumbles on receptions and things like that. And I think that's a bad way to go. I think you've got to give the defense a chance on a play like that.
Well, fumbles, cheap or otherwise, Steve, have been a problem for the Bengals. They've fumbled 9 times in their last 4 games and have lost 4 of them. Right now, it's Detmer again, working it off to his tight end. And L.J. Smith works the middle of the field and gets about the 47-yard line, a gain of 6 yards to the 47 of the Bengals, where the rookie middle backer for Cincinnati, Landon Johnson, gets him down.
A few moments ago, we mentioned Mark Semino going down. This is Semino right here. And watches this play unfold. See if we can pick up where his ankle might have gotten hurt. He gets up. You see he got up, so who knows, but left ankle.
Now another quick throw and connection as the ball is put in the hands of Freddie Mitchell by Detmer. Well, Semino started the season middle linebacker. Then the Pro Bowler Jeremiah Trotter moved to middle backer, and Semino the weak side linebacker. That's when the defense really started to play exceptionally well. Trotter apparently being held out today, so they've moved Semino back to the middle. But as mentioned, he's now having his ankle X-rayed.
And Jeremiah Trotter made a tackle earlier in the first series, and then obviously is sat down and to rest. We're probably coming in back in the game now.
And here is Dirk Johnson punting for Philadelphia. Fair catch signaled for and made by rookie Kewan Ratliff at the 11. So the Bengals try again in this scoreless first quarter. Back to Philadelphia. Bengals, who've mustered virtually no offense in this game so far. A scoreless first quarter. Eagles going with primarily backups at a lot of key positions. Here's a pitch back to Rudy Johnson. Well, these backups can play defense as Michael Lewis makes the stop. How about the Steelers and the Bills at Ralph Wilson Stadium? For more, we go back to Greg Gumbel.
All right, thank you, Don. Buffalo can make the playoffs with a win and some help, and Willis McGahee puts them on top of the Pittsburgh Steelers with this 3-yard touchdown run. 7-3 Bills, coming up on 4.5 to play in the first quarter. Don and Steve.
And you see the playoff picture for the Bills. They need help today. They needed the Jets or Denver to lose. In addition, Buffalo has to win. And now a throw downfield. Chad Johnson making his 91st catch of the year. Looks to be about a 10-yard gain.
You see him getting up talking to J.R. Reed. J.R. Reed gave him a great hit right as he caught the football just at the first down marker. You'll watch as Chad Johnson comes across, and you'll never meet a guy that wants to be great any more than Chad Johnson. He will do anything it takes to help his team, and sometimes when you do that, you put a target on your back.
Well, he talks about cornerbacks are going to need help when they play me, and it's largely true. He's been double teamed all year, still caught almost 100. Here's a drop. As they try to get it right out to Johnson, he rarely drops the ball. Tomorrow on CBS, CSI Miami begins with a new year with an unforgettable new episode. A hospital emergency room becomes the scene of Miami's most intense gang war. Don't miss a new episode of Monday's #1 show, CSI Miami, at 10, 9 Central on CBS, America's most watched network. Chad Johnson said he loves playing for Marvin Lewis. He says, Marvin is like my daddy. He gives me that look, and I get the message. He attributes Lewis for having a lot to do with his success. Rudy Johnson trying to bang ahead, but Eagle defenders are playing run well. Dhani Jones makes the stop, 55.
And you just see as the Bengals coming in have struggled thus far, finally got their first down a moment ago. But you know, you talk to John Kitna, who took, as you said, John, every snap last year, has fallen into the backup role behind Carson Palmer and has accepted it as the Bengals knew he would. John Kitna is nothing if not a stand-up guy, and I think he's really helped as much as anybody in the development of the guy that plays in front of him, Carson Palmer.
No question. Palmer singles him out right away. The reason he became so good late in the season. Here is a throw. They threaded into Hushmanzada. Looked like it was almost going to be picked, but Kitten has enough on it. And it's a big play for the Bengals as they have the ball ahead for a 21-yard gain and a first down.
And what a great throw and great catch by Hushmanzada, a guy who's just shy of 1,000 yards on the season. He hardly played at all a year ago with chronic hamstring problems, and he has been a difference maker for the Bengals this year. Along with the development of Palmer at quarterback, this Bengals offense went from being one of the laughing stocks 2 or 3 years ago to a team not very many defenses wanted to face.
Yeah, Hushmanzada, of course, will tell you he's been a beneficiary of all the double teams on Chad Johnson, his former teammate at Oregon State. Now Rudy Johnson looks for a gap and finds one. On a first down run, he drives the ball out close to the 48-yard line of Cincinnati.
And Rudy Johnson, one of those guys, I mean, he's just a workhorse. And interesting that we mentioned a moment ago that the team really embraced him when he became the starter ahead of Corey Dillon last year. Dillon, of course, with some injuries, and Rudy Johnson emerged as a guy they could depend on. But he, at heart, is a special teams player. And he never lost that with his teammates and his coaching staff. He's still a guy that shows up every day. Even though he'll carry the ball 35 times on a Sunday, he's there on Monday working hard.
Yeah, remembers where he came from. Here's a beautifully timed throw by Kitna as the opposite puts air under it, and a very fast Chad Johnson runs under it. And the Bengals hit another big pass play.
And Chad Johnson comes up limping, but you'll see there, if Chad Johnson gets single covered, he's going to be open. He'll get separation. John Kitna knows it. And John Kitna is nothing if not an experienced guy. He's taken some knocks both in his days as Seattle Seahawk and, of course, in his years as starter last year for the Bengals. He knows how to find the guys that can help him. And Chad Johnson has emerged as an elite receiver, even though right there you see he's limping a little bit.
I think he gets the shoe award also.
Very nice. I like that.
Very well turned out, making a big play, 27 yards. Another timing throw. There's Johnson, and a penalty marker is fired in from way back. Could be a defensive call.
And that's going to be a double move on Chad Johnson. He knew he was going to get it. When he puts the brakes on, turns inside, the defensive back jumps the route and bumps him, and that's illegal.
Holding. Number 24 defense. 5-yard penalty. An automatic.
Sheldon Brown.
Sheldon
24.
Brown knew he was going to get beat. Watch here. He's going to come up. Chad Johnson's going to stop. Sheldon Brown knows he got beat, so he reaches out and says, wait a minute, and grabs a handful of jersey, and he can't do that. Sheldon Brown knew that. He forgot he had safety help. If he'd have known that, he wouldn't have had to reach out. But sometimes a quarterback's out there so by himself, he forgets he has help.
So the Bengals now go first down and 10 with their deepest penetration by either team. First real scoring threat. Here is Johnson cracking straight ahead and driving inside the 15-yard line. So the up front blockers start to make things happen for the Bengal running game as we go back to Greg for more on the Steelers and the Bills.
All right, Don, Pittsburgh has come back to take the lead from the Bills. Tommy Maddox 16 yards to Antoine Randall L. 10-7 Steelers. Buffalo needs to begin its day with a win and some help today. They trail by 3.
Well, Cowher said he was going to go in there and play his best guys and play to win. No secret he'd like to knock the Bills out of it if he could. Here is a handoff to Rudy Johnson. Cowher, the coach of the Steelers, and Tom Donahoe, who runs the Buffalo Bills in the front office, didn't speak in their last months together at Pittsburgh, and Donahoe was ousted.
Yeah, they don't exchange holiday cards, no question. And I'll tell you what, another thing, if you look over the AFC side, Pittsburgh, no matter what you say about them, they will play hard for Bill Cowher no matter who's in the game. And that's something Marvin Lewis wants to relay to his Bengals. He wants his guys to play hard. Now, they're out of the playoffs, but this is a team that is looking to the future and trying to find out about some players. And believe me, Don, nothing speaks as loud. If you play well, it speaks loud about your career. But if you play and you lay down, that is the quickest way.
It stays with you, doesn't
You'll
it?
be selling insurance in a heartbeat.
It's a tough rap to beat.
And you see there's the AFC playoff picture, and the teams on this side of the bracket right here, these are all maybes, and they all need a little help. And they all need Denver and the Jets to falter today.
The Jets and the Broncos can both win their way in as the 5th and 6th playoff teams in the American Conference. They don't need help. Jets are leading right now at St. Louis 3-0. Last report. 3rd and less than a yard. A timing throw to the end zone, and it's been broken up by Roderick Hood, getting a start at cornerback for Lito Shepard, a Pro Bowl corner.
Yeah, that was played very well on both sides. Chad Johnson and Shep. Watch as this ball comes out. Hood is going to make this play, and this is why a quarterback will throw to a great receiver. He couldn't catch that ball, but he made sure Hood wasn't going to catch it either. He pulls his helmet off.
And the Bengals are going to go for it on 4th down. Needing less than a yard, they get more than that as Rudy Johnson spins off and drives ahead. It is down at about the 8-yard line, so it will be 1st and goal for Cincinnati. And that might do it for the first quarter of play here at Philadelphia. It's the first really good drive for the Bengals. And they will have it 1st and goal from the 8 when we come back with no score on the board. Coming up on the Nextel halftime report, join Greg, Dan, Shannon, and Boomer for all the latest NFL scores and highlights. All coming up on the Nextel halftime report. The Bengals, Boomer's former team, driving now. He's also a former Jet, as the ball is inside the 10-yard line. 1st down, a rollout, getting the throws, gets a guy, and the ball's down to the 5-yard line as he hits his fullback, 265-pound normally lead blocker, Jeremy Johnson.
That's the first time they've tried play action in this game, and they do it down near the end zone. You'll watch as Kitna rolls out, gets enough time, and takes the easy throw to Johnson. And that's what a fullback does, Don. They'll block all year. They'll catch maybe 1 ball a game, and that's the fullback's job in the NFL.
Yeah, normally he doesn't look to catch it or run it. Big Jeremy Johnson just to block. He's the lead guy for Rudy Johnson, and he does right now lead the way, and Johnson's in the end zone, and the Bengals take the lead. Michael Lewis hit him at the 1, but he drove through, so Rudy Johnson scores his 10th touchdown of the season.
As you look back on that drive, the key play was the conversion on the 4th down just a few moments ago, but this is a great block. As we just said, Jeremy Johnson gets the seal block inside, and Rudy Johnson powers in for the touchdown. 10th touchdown of the year. And there's a guy that really has quietly put himself on the cusp of being one of the elite backs in the league with all those yards he's gotten on the ground.
He's emerged in the push. It looks like he's going to be an unrestricted free agent at the end of the season. But they are fully hopeful of signing him again. So Kitna directs a good drive downfield. A long pass to Chad Johnson helps set things up, and the Bengals take the lead. On the 13th play of an 89-yard drive, Rudy Johnson goes into the end zone from 5 yards out, and the Bengals take a 7-0 lead. Now they're ready to kick off. Is ready to put the ball downfield is Shane Graham. Deep in, J.R. Reed is back. Rookie, a very good kick returner, averaged over 31 yards a kick return in college last year, and he's going to get a lot more than that in this return, as Reed out of South Florida works the sideline and gets the ball out across the 30 to the 34. A 29-yard return is officially ruled. Tonight on CBS begins with America's #1 news magazine, 60 Minutes, followed by Cold Case, then Academy Award winner Gene Hackman and Owen Wilson star the network television premiere of Behind Enemy Lines. It's all here tonight on CBS.
As you see John Kitna taking a breather on the sidelines, Eagles take the ball back. And this is where Detmer's got to bring him back. This is what you want to see out of him.
He's throwing well. This time his receiver looked like he broke off his pattern, Billy McMullen, Steve.
Yeah, he was up at that point. He was 6 of 7. And, you know, you combine that with his Monday night performance a week ago, and that's a lot better. Detmer obviously feels a lot better about the things he's doing with the offense today, even though that was an incomplete pass. But you'd still like to see him run the ball a little better. You see there, they don't have any yards on the ground. And I think if you're going to sit down Michael Westbrook and Dorsey Levens both, you may have to kind of accept that as a fact of life.
Now we'll see what Detmer goes to on 2nd down and 10. Go to a draw play. Eric McCool getting some work and doing good work. York is McCoo, who was the MVP of the World Bowl playing for Berlin in the NFL Europe League, is ahead for an 11-yard gain. They just activated him for the big squad.
Yeah, and for this exact purpose. You know, they want him to carry the load today. You know, this is just a draw play. And this is, I think, when you get a back in there who, you know, hasn't run too much in the offense, let him stand there, let the quarterback bring him the football, and let him pick his own spot. That's one thing you don't have to teach a running back.
Detmer buying time with his legs, waving a guy downfield, and then he just throws to the sideline as the Bengals really had a lot of deep coverage. Their safeties were way back.
Yeah, they did not want to let Detmer go deep. I think that's one thing I think you can expect to see from the Bengals. They don't want to give up an explosive play, a 30-yard plus play, a play that's going to, you know, be a game changer, because they know the Eagles are kind of trying to beat them left-handed a little bit here today, and they don't want to make it easy for them. They're going to have to earn every yard they get, are the Eagles.
The Eagles have not been very productive scoring in the last 3 games, all against losing teams. They've averaged only 12 points a game. And now on 2nd down and 10, a marker is thrown at the snap.
You talk about that, Don.
False start. Number 68. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Remains.
And the people here in Philadelphia noticed that, because, you know, in the playoff losses they've had in the last few years, their point production has been down and then downer and then more down. They've gotten worse offensively in the playoffs, and you cannot go into the playoffs on a downtick or with an offense that's struggling and expect to do well. I don't think that's going to continue for Philadelphia, but still, if you're looking for something to criticize the team for, that's got to be it at this point.
Well, they want to rest guys, there's no question, but no team wants to go into the playoffs as a top seed coming off 2 straight losses, then go into a bye week. Reed says we're all chomping at the bit for that first playoff game, but I've got to do what I think is right for my team, and that's to get them as healthy as I can. It's been one of the top teams in the NFL the last few years, but in 01, the Eagles fall to the greatest show on turf in St. Louis. 02, Tampa Bay en route to a Super Bowl win knocks off the Eagles in Philadelphia. Last year, the Panthers' Ricky Manning's 3 interceptions paved the way for another Eagle loss at home in those NFC Championship game heartbreaks.
You know, you think about that, they lost to a great offensive team. Yeah, they lost to a great offensive team and 2 great defensive teams. The Eagles seem to be more balanced than any of those teams they lost to.
Now Detmer puts the ball downfield, trying to get out of harm's way as a couple of Bengals were blitzing him. So the Eagle fans are not happy, and the boos cascade down as the punt unit comes out.
Well, it's frustrating for fans. You know, you've got one of the best teams in the National Football League, and then to come out and watch them, you know, struggle at home, just kind of coasting into the playoffs. It's frustrating for the fans.
This whole town is holding its breath, waiting for those playoffs. This could be the year. And the return by Ratliff is swept under. Good special teams coverage. Lavinjo, a rookie, makes the play, a 40-yard punt and just a 4-yard return. So the Bengals will see if they can move the ball again. Last time they had it was a 13-play touchdown drive. The Bengals on offense again, ready to go 1st down and 10. Ball positioned at their 24-yard line. Gitna fakes and looks long. He's going to air it out. Long ball, and he's got a man out there. Johnson comes back at the ball and catches it. But comes up limping.
And that was an outstanding play by Chad Johnson. You can see the frustration on him. He knows he's hurt. He came back to that ball. He was so open that the defensive backs had to do everything they could just to get there. They couldn't play the ball. They just had to close some ground. You see there he's working against Hood, and then, of course, Reed comes over. Then he gets help also from Lewis. All 3 of them can't get there. He gets so much separation. These guys can't even play the football.
So that's not good. The play certainly was good for 45 yards. But
there's also an Eagle down on the play.
It also is not good. We're back to Philadelphia. A couple of good reports on the 2 shaken up players. Chad Johnson's right back in there, and the Pro Bowl safety for the Eagles, Michael Lewis, who was down for a while, he bounced up and seemed to be all right.
Now we're going to replay this this catch by Chad Johnson. Andy Reid has challenged this call.
Andy Reid had an interesting observation. He said when it comes to championships, defense is what gets them for you.
Yeah, no question. And there's Lewis falling across Chad Johnson. J.R. Reid trying to put the brakes on to get to the ball. He can't. Johnson catches it, and does the ball hit the ground? Tough to see from that angle. And here is probably a better look at it. Does the ball hit the ground? Well, his arm's under it right there.
I don't think there's enough to overturn it. They ruled it a catch.
Not at that point, no.
It has to be indisputable evidence that the call on the field, which was a catch.
You know, we went away for a break, and Michael Lewis, the Pro Bowl safety, is on the ground. You think, you know, they've already lost Mark Semino. Who knows how bad that is? He's had his ankle x-rayed. Now Michael Lewis gets hurt and has to shake it up and walks off under his own power. But nevertheless, you get the idea. You understand why Andy Reid wants to rest these guys. This is not the game they want to win. The game they want to win is in February in Jacksonville, and they've got to get there. Now, this is a team also Andy Reid has seen in years past. Troy Vincent be hurt in the playoffs. Buck Halter got hurt. Donovan McNabb broke his ankle in the playoffs. Brian Dawkins was hurt. Bobby Taylor was hurt. Michael Westbrook got hurt in the final game of the season. I mean, you go down the list, and you have to ask whether it's the right decision to rest these guys. There's no question it is.
You were with the Bills team, which you led to 4 straight Super Bowls, along with Jim Kelly and Bruce Smith, Thurman Thomas.
And we thought Chad Johnson had limped off. He'd done it twice. On an earlier catch, he limped off earlier as well. And
here's what he had to say on the sideline.
On the sidelines a moment ago, here's what he said.
How do I look? Cool? All right.
How do I look? He's 7'11". He's always open.
That's what he calls himself.
You know, and it's
largely true.
And I'll tell you what, that's part of the job description. Not only do they have to be able to catch, run, do everything, read defenses, be a great receiver, they also have to come back to the huddle and tell the quarterback that they need to throw him the football. They all do it. All the great ones come back and say, I was open. There could be 6 guys standing around him in a circle, and he's still open. And that's the way they are. I mean, they're confident. And believe me, Chad Johnson works at it. It's not something that just happened overnight.
No, he's a late-night guy at the training center of the Bengals. And here's our referee, Tom White, who says,
after reviewing the play, in the process of attempting to catch the ball, as he's coming down, the ball hits the ground, no possession, incomplete pass. It was a Cincinnati ball. 2nd down and 10 on their 24-yard line. Reset the game clock to 12 minutes, 59 seconds.
And from that angle, I still think his arm got underneath it. Now, maybe Tom White saw a different angle or chose to saw something different than we saw. But nevertheless, the play comes back, and Andy Reid is not charged with a timeout. It's a good challenge.
Yep, negates a 45-yard gain. So the ball's set all the way back now inside the Bengals' 25-yard line.
You know, one thing we talked to John Kitten, the quarterback, about this offense. He says this offense sputters when Chad Johnson is double teamed.
Well, that's almost every play.
And it is almost every play. But the reason, too, that they've had some success is this guy right here, T.J. Hushmanzada. He's given Carson Palmer, now John Kitten, a 1 extra guy. And that has really allowed them to overcome a lot of things where in past years they weren't able to.
And now a 2nd down and 10 play comes up for the Bengals. Rudy Johnson, who's been concerned about his fumbles of late. 2 arms on the ball. Huge game at St. Louis. Jets and the Rams, and Greg Gumbel has more on it.
Don, there are 2 teams, each of which is looking for a playoff berth. Mark Bulger from 27 yards out finds Isaac Bruce for the touchdown, and the Rams have grabbed a 7-3 lead on the Jets, coming up on 6:40 to play in the first half, guys.
And there you see what's been apparent to a lot of people, the record, the AFC versus NFC. It's hard to ignore that.
Well, 8-8 might get in very well, might get into the NFC. 10-6 might very well be out in the AFC. Hittner gets rid of the ball just before he's hit. Gets an outlet to Kelly Washington, who makes his 31st catch.
I think, obviously, when you look at both conferences and the playoff pictures, it's coming down. You're going to have 12 playoff teams, 6 from each conference. But unfortunately, this year, it's probably not going to be the 12 best teams.
Well, there's been talk, as you know, Steve, about possibly seeding both conferences, but it's too tough to do because of the way who you play.
Don't panic because this aberration happened with AFC NFC this year. The system is really good the way it works right now.
Dexter Wynn fair catches the Bengals punt back at his 20. And so the Eagles, who have not been scoring very well of late, after that 51-yard punt, no return, take over the ball at their 20. And a continuing problem for the Eagles in those consecutive 3 times NFC Championship game losses was a problem scoring in those games. Let's find out as the scoreboard changes. We go back to Greg.
All right, down in Washington, the Vikings looking for a way into the postseason with a win against the Redskins. Morton Anderson, 23-yard field goal is good. It pulls the Vikings to within 7-3 of the Redskins. Under 3 minutes to play in the first half there.
I gotta tell you, I've been retired for almost a better part of a decade, and Morton Anderson was old when I came in the league.
Yeah, he's
ageless.
He's going to approach Blandy. He's going to kick from his 48. Here's a throw. Mahe catches the ball. Reno Mahe gets out close to the 26-yard line. And the numbers change as we go back to Greg Gumbel.
Don, both the Saints and the Panthers are looking for a postseason berth. Aaron Stecker from 7 yards out finds the end zone. The Saints have grabbed a 7-3 lead on Carolina. Plenty of time left in the first half, guys.
Wild. New Orleans still in the hunt. And the coach, Jim Haslett, former teammate of yours, hoping to keep his job because they haven't been happy with the lack of a playoff team. And they swing the ball to Mahe. And he doesn't get much as he's taken down inside the 25-yard line. Well, actually, the spot is going to be a loss of a couple yards.
Detmer comes out, the easy pass. And this is one thing I think that seems to work better with Donovan McNabb than it does with Detmer because of one thing. You're not really worried about Coy Detmer taking off and gaining 15 on his own. So you really don't have anybody to spy or to lose. If you see him drop back to pass, you look for somebody he's going to throw it to.
Well, he's going to throw it to somebody right now as he stands in, puts it down the field, makes a connection to L.J. Smith. And as he is down with a big gain on the play, there's a penalty marker thrown in from the back judge.
There's 2 markers thrown in. It looks like it's going to go against the Eagles.
And Detmer was hit also.
And there's a flag back in the backfield as well. And Detmer was in a pocket right there, and the pocket started to collapse. He hung in there and threw it, but it looked like he might have taken a late hit.
It looked like somebody pushed off.
Personal foul. Roughing the passer. Number 92, defense. Offensive pass interference. Number 82, offense. The penalty's offset. Replay. 3rd down.
And it's as though nothing ever happened. And here's the interference right here. He just pushes Ratliff right to the ground, makes the catch, and then at the other end, at the beginning of that pass, here's the rough, and they call right there. Justin Smith and Dwayne Clemens hit Detmer. Can't do that late.
And now 3rd down and 8 arises for Detmer. It's awful, man. There was a room service interception that was dropped by Keywan Ratliff. It would be a 13-0 game right now.
You got it. There was absolutely no reason Keywan Ratliff isn't dancing in the end zone right now. You'll say this right here. He's just going to step out, move right underneath, and this ball couldn't have been thrown better.
And he kept running. Maybe they won't notice.
Now he's got to return the punt. We'll see if he catches the punt better than he did the interception.
He's a rookie standing back at his 35. The ball is hit downfield. Dirk Johnson, the Eagle punter, and it'll roll down to about the 42. So the Bengals, who had one long drive in this game, has been the only one by either team. We'll see if they can get another one going now when we come back. Donovan McNabb expected to start today, but he must have gotten word after the warm-ups. No time. Our main guy is going to sit, or at least watching the sideline. The Eagle players say it's harder to watch on the sideline than it is to play. Your back tightens up.
These guys are used to running and jumping and doing all of that.
Guy running and jumping. Chad Johnson on a reverse works the ball for a 1st down because he's ahead for a gain of 20 yards on the play. Which player is the biggest emerging offensive star in the NFL? Drew Brees, Reuben Drone, Steven Jackson, Kevin Jones, Willis McGahee, or Ben Roethlisberger? Cast your vote at NFL.com. Well, Roethlisberger is probably going to be the lead guy, but I'll tell you one thing, McGahee, who says he's about 80% right now, when he gets to 100%, he's something. Running back for the Bills, who had the serious knee injury. And now they get the quick hitch out to Chad Johnson. And he breaks it ahead on a 1st and 10 play for 12 yards and another Bengal first down.
Well, they've tried to do that a number of times. That's the first time it worked as they envisioned it. And that's what Chad Johnson can do. He'll catch this, and if you can get a guy to miss a tackle, that's going to lead to a great play. I mean, the great defenses around the National Football League all do the same thing. The great defenses tackle. The first guy to the ball is stopped. If you break one guy miss, the defense is in trouble.
And now they go on 1st down and 10. The Eagle defense, even with backups, is rarely in trouble. They've got an awful lot of good players, a lot of depth, and a tremendous attitude in this team. When you spend a day in their training camp, you really get a good feel about these guys. I know you think after the layoff they're going to come out smoking in that first divisional playoff game.
Oh yeah, this game doesn't mean anything in the standings, and it's going to, and if they do lose the game, it's 2 straight losses. But let me tell you something. Every other team they're going to play in the playoffs is fighting and kicking and scratching to get in. The first team that has to come in to Lincoln Financial Field and play this team on a month's rest after, you know, a playoff run is late season and early season. I mean, they're going to be exhausted, and this team is going to chew them up.
Here's a throw to the end zone. Houshmandzadeh comes down with the ball. No flags. And Kittner with a perfect strike. A 20-yard touchdown play.
And it looked like both on the last play to Chad Johnson and on this play to Houshmandzadeh, the offensive guys are getting a little bit of separation with their hand. Houshmandzadeh having really a breakout year for him. And this is a guy that was a 7th-round draft pick in 2001, and he's close this year to getting 1,000 yards.
That was his 4th touchdown catch of the year. 68 catches for the season. He's another guy that's contract is up after this season, so they really want to get Rudy Johnson and Houshmandzadeh back in the fold. And the Bengals probably want to draft for defensive line pass rusher.
They'd also like to get one really fast guy at wide receiver to help both those guys.
Well, the Bengals looking sharp on offense as, again, the Eagles, despite their home field advantage, on their way perhaps to another loss. John Kittner with a perfect strike to Houshmandzadeh, and they build their lead to the Bengals to 14-0. The Eagles during the season have allowed less than 15 points a game so far this season, but they've given up 14 already today.
There you see the graphic setting the team record for the most yardage by 2 receivers in the same season. T.J. Houshmandzadeh helping out Chad Johnson, and really to do that with a first-year starting quarterback is really something special.
Getting with impressive numbers, 9 of 13 for 108 yards and a touchdown. Here comes the quick return by J.R. Reed. And a good special teams play is coming down to make the stop on him was Marcus Wilkins. Kick off the new year with The Late Show. Monday, Dave's All New with Academy Award winner Hilary Swank and music from Green Day. Dave's All New all this week. Then don't miss the premiere of The Late Show with Craig Ferguson tomorrow night on CBS.
You talk about, Don, what's important to these teams coming into this game and how much emotion goes into it and in resting your stars. Well, the Philadelphia Eagles led the NFL with fewest points per game allowed at 14.8 all year. They've already given up 14 with 7 minutes to go in the second quarter. So you know they are not playing with all their guns blazing.
Donovan McNabb seems unworried. Well, I tell you, it's going to be Manning for the MVP with his unbelievable numbers, but certainly Donovan McNabb has to be in the debate conversation. He's had a phenomenal year.
I think he always is. I think the last couple of years, one reason he hasn't is because he got off to a slow start. And I think getting off to a fast start really carries you a long way, no matter how your season goes.
Here's Detmer with a quick drop on first down, and the ball is knocked around and incomplete. Slap back at him. Robert Gaither's getting in there, getting a hand up.
A few Boo Birds raining down on Detmer with that pass getting batted back. They'd like to see a little more offense, a couple of first downs, no question. The Eagles, you really like to see them, do something passable on offense. I mean, this is a team that struggled all through their Monday night game and looks to be the same thing here today.
And here is a handoff straight up the middle as the game clock winds down to 7:45. Merrick McCoo runs the ball. As
the big overriding story of this game has been injuries. And on that last kickoff, Ike Reese, who is a Pro Bowler, number 58, gets hurt. This is him right there. He got up and limped off. Ike Reese, a guy after my own heart. A veteran player playing special teams, and he goes to the Pro Bowl.
Yep, you did that 7 times as a special teamer. Get the same check?
No.
Reese has been the same check from the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, well, not now. I mean, it's kind of up now. Yeah, I mean, it's the same. He's going to stay at the same hotel and all that. It's great.
And here comes Justin Smith with a sack and a fumble, and the Bengals have the ball. So Justin Smith's 8th sack of the year. He came unblocked. So you harken back to the conversation they're talking about over Philadelphia. I mean, you want to go in with your guys rested, but you don't want to go in with getting knocked around like this.
Well, you look at that. Justin Smith comes in untouched, and you look in there, and there's Dejalek is playing, Ephraim is playing, Shulo is playing. I mean, you talk about, a lot is made of Donovan McNabb's not in there. Brian Westbrook's not in there. But the real thing is their offensive line is sitting down too. They've got all their backup offensive linemen in there. And Andy Reid said last week the youth on their offensive line was an atrocity in the game against St. Louis. It looks to be headed the same direction today.
Yeah, he was really looking for his backups to show a lot more. Here's Kitna. Gets some time, rolls out, looking downfield, not a lot going on, so he bails out with a gain on the play. John Kitna, he said it's his job to back up Carson Palmer. It's now Palmer's team, but last year Kitna was the only quarterback, I think, in the league that took every snap on offense.
Yeah, and you asked him, when he sat down, he said, have you been kind of in limbo backing up Carson Palmer? He says, no, I have not been in limbo. I have a role to play, and I've done my best to be that and to be the backup and do everything I can to make the team better. And Carson Palmer will be the first to tell you he's appreciated. John Kitna and Carson Palmer's relationship has really grown by leaps and bounds throughout this season.
Now on 2nd down and 7, Kitna sets his team inside the 20-yard line of the Eagles. Rudy Johnson spins and turns, and he's down to the 10, and a marker's thrown in by the referee. Watching the play from behind it, he signals a hold against the Bengals. And here's another Eagle shaken up.
And you talk about, the relationship.
Green.
So we talk some more about, Carson Palmer and John Kitna as we see Tom White.
Holding. Number 31. Offense. 10-yard penalty. Remains. 2nd down.
And that's Jamal Green there that's down. They're going to be helping him off. But John Kitna has said, I think the thing that he brings to Carson Palmer is his ability to understand what's going on in the passing game and on the field, and also as an emotional guy during the week. He and Palmer compete in everything. In golf, in pool, billiards. They also, in quarterback drills, trying to throw the football into a bucket from yards away and hit the crossbar. Every step of the way they compete, and Kitna keeps him sharp in a lot of ways. In fact, Kitna, you want to know how they feel about each other. He said Carson Palmer's faking his knee injury because he doesn't want to play me one-on-one in basketball after the season's over.
Well, Palmer, he really has played terrific in his last 4 starts before he got the knee strain in a close loss at New England. He had a quarterback rating of almost 109 over those 4 games. Now, Jamal Green, who's down, it's good to see him bounce up because this is a 2nd-year player from Miami of Florida who is from nearby Camden, New Jersey. But last year, Jamal, they were expecting big things from him, but he broke his ankle and required surgery in the preseason and was out for the whole season.
You see there, he just steps on his teammate's foot and goes down. And, it's amazing that that doesn't happen all the time. I mean, you're standing in a crowd of guys in fist fight. It's amazing you don't step on something that twists your ankle even more often than it does happen.
Now let's see where they go to on 2nd down and 17. And there's not much happening as Lavinjo comes in and makes the stop on Rudy Johnson, who is working inexorably towards breaking that franchise record for rushing yards in a season, but the yards are not coming easy for him.
Yeah, Mike Lavinjo played that perfectly.
13 for 36.
As soon as as Rudy Johnson chasing after that record, Labenjo stepped right up into the hole, saw the play, read it perfectly, and that's what you want to see your backups do. At least be in the right spot.
That brings up 3rd down and 18 where the ball is positioned. They do a shuffle pass forward, and running with the ball is Watson, running back from Penn State with his 25th reception of the year. Underhand, but still a forward pass, and it's going to bring out the field goal unit for a fairly long try. 9-yard gain. Now you get Cowher with a different philosophy, Steve. He's up in Buffalo beating the Bills 16-7. His team has already established home field in the American Conference. But he said we're going to go in there to win, and apparently he's doing that.
Yeah, and that's the way Bill Cowher works, and it's a choice each coach has to make. And every coach that we've talked to, Andy Reid and Marvin Lewis, said it's up to the individual coach.
Now the field goal try by Shane Graham is wide of the mark from 37 yards out, so the lead holds for the Bengals, 14-0.
You talk about that, Don, and what the choice that Andy Reid had to make. We asked Marvin Lewis about it. And Marvin Lewis is a guy that spends a lot of time in his locker room. Some head coaches don't go in there very much. Marvin Lewis spends a lot of time in there. And I think it's important for a head coach to do that. And I think Andy Reid does it a little differently, but they both have a finger on the pulse of their team. And Andy Reid says, I know my guys. And when it's time to tune it up for the playoffs, they're going to. And he's resting his star players with full confidence that when it's time to turn it on, they're going to flip the switch.
And they are still hoping to have the great receiver Terrell Owens back for the Super Bowl if they get there. A guy who can personally change a game, who can take over a game. And that's in the scouting report that the Bengals have of the Philadelphia Eagles, that Terrell Owens' ability is that he can take over a game. That's how good he is.
You talk about a guy who depends on somebody else to get him the football.
There's a guy who can get it to him.
Most notably, that guy, Donovan McNabb. And these are the guys what they're doing today. Now, who played and who didn't? Brady is playing in 5 series. They're winning. Brett Favre is crushing the Bears, and he's not in the game anymore either. So some of them played some of them didn't play at all.
Here is a timing throw and very nearly another pick, a drop ball, as Torrey James, who's heading to the Pro Bowl, his first Pro Bowl as a cornerback for the Bengals.
And you talk about Donovan McNabb, what he means to this franchise. And he has a chance. Oh, he's going to do it today. He had a chance to do it, but with a plus 30 touchdown to interception ratio. He's the first player to do it. And more than 30 TDs and less than 10 interceptions. Now there's also a guy in Indianapolis that will probably finish the season like that as well.
Well, he's going for 50 today, 50 touchdown passes, Peyton Manning.
But he's got 10 interceptions. So McNabb is going to be the only guy to have plus 30 touchdowns and less than 10 interceptions. Only guy in history to do it, even with Manning's great year.
Yeah, 49-10 is not terrible.
And I'll tell you what, a lot of coaches, particularly the old school guys, will tell you they'd rather see a low interception number than a high touchdown number.
Well, McNabb's whole career, he's been a low interception guy. He's run very well this year. Also, he's averaging 5.4 yards a run, but they're running him less. He's run this year 30 times less than he did a season ago.
And you think about the difference that makes to Andy Reid and his staff. Not only does McNabb not throw the interceptions, okay, he holds on to the ball instead of throwing it in there, but then he has the ability to run with it. So what could have been on some teams a pick or an interception with a bad throw turns into a great run by Donovan McNabb, and that's a huge difference for other teams to make up.
Well, talking, Steve, about the interception, Donovan McNabb has the lowest interception rate of any active quarterback in the NFL. And as a starter, he's 56-21. That's 71% wins. And that's the best win percentage of any active quarterback. Favre is second at 67%.
Well, that interception ratio is really tough to beat. I mean, that's the thing that does it. And the wins and the winning percentage come from the statistic of not making bad mistakes.
Ratliff is now back as the Eagles are ready to punt again. Dirk Johnson ready to hit the ball at about his 25. Well hit downfield. Ratliff fair catching it. He needs somebody talking to him back there. He's got room to return. Coming up next, the NFL on CBS winds down the regular season when the red-hot Colts take on the Broncos at Denver. The Chiefs battle the Chargers, or the Jaguars meet the Raiders at Oakland. Check local listings.
Now, Denver is in a win, and they're in. I mean, all they need to do is beat Indianapolis. And, of course, Indianapolis, nothing's going to change for them.
Denver also, there's some different ways they could get in, even if they lost. But the sure thing is they and the Jets both can win their way in.
Right. As it stands right now, Denver and New York Jets are in. But if they lose, then it gets a little dicey.
Now John Kitna, veteran that he is, seems to be changing the play. And they go to Rudy Johnson, and there's a lot of Eagles calling on him as he turns the corner and gets nothing. In fact, he lost yards, knocked out of bounds for a loss of almost 4 yards.
You know, it's interesting. You don't see that much from Rudy Johnson. We spoke to John Kitna yesterday, and Kitna's a guy that obviously played as a starter in Seattle and played with a guy who was very popular here off and on in Philadelphia, is Ricky Waters. And he says that's who Rudy Johnson reminds him of. Ricky Waters. He doesn't take very many plays that are negatives, and he did right there. But Rudy's a guy that always gets back to the line of scrimmage and always gives you a positive play, even if it's for no gain.
Well, that was the 111th play, #1 in the NFL for the Eagle defense. A hit for negative yardage. J.R. Reed was the lead tackler. Here's a throw downfield as Johnson turns out, and defended by Matt Ware, incomplete.
We've talked so much about Rudy Johnson and what he's brought to this club, going for the record, and he's 48 yards from overtaking Corey Dillon as the #1 running back for a season in Bengals history, and he's done it very, very quietly.
Well, the Bengals, if they get to 8-8, it looks like at this point they're going to, as they were last year, they're a better football team now than they were because they've established Carson Palmer, former #1 overall pick in the draft, as their guy, and he really played some great football as the season wore on. Here is Kitna playing some himself, as on 3rd and long. He runs ahead for a gain of 9 yards, but it'll be well short of a first down. And the punter comes back out for Cincinnati. Jerome McDougal making the tackle.
Yeah, John Kitna slid in and still took a hit from 2 guys, and that's one where you'd kind of like a nice little soft penalty, but Kitna's not going to get it. And the Eagles defense played that great. 3rd and very long. Make the quarterback run. Make him run for 20 yards and a first down. He's not going to do it.
No, he didn't get there. Here's the punt hit downfield.
Great kick.
This time the return is by Dexter Wynn, and he's across the 20 to the 22-yard line. Reggie Miles comes down and makes the stop.
Yeah, you think
56-yard punt and just a 4-yard return.
Yeah, they had to punt the ball away then, but, you know, leading as they are, this is a team in Cincinnati that really has its sights set on next year with really a lot of optimism. And I think the big reason is Carson Palmer and the way he's emerged. I mean, in the second game, week 2 of this year, he came back on a 2-minute drill and beat the Miami Dolphins. Now, the Dolphins didn't have a good year, but their defense was pretty good, and he beat them.
And here's Detmer late in the first half, and that ball's almost intercepted as they were going to Mahe, but ball was slapped down. John Thornton, a big defensive tackle from West Virginia. He's the guy that almost had it. So the Eagles not only are trailing 14-0, they haven't been in the area code of scoring points today.
They have not, and Detmer
other than a field goal.
Yeah, trying to find the lane right there, and Thornton just all over it. Threw it right into his face mask.
Still, they were never in position for Akers to get a good shot at one. Detmer started 4 for 4 throwing the ball, but since then he has completed 5 of 14. Ready to pitch again. Downfield throw, kicked off. That's Torrey James, the Pro Bowl cornerback for Cincinnati. And he takes the ball across the 40-yard line of the Eagles, a 12-yard return.
And that's the 2-minute warning.
So the Eagles may be the #1 seed in the NFC, but their fans don't like what they're seeing. We're back where the Bengals lead the Eagles 14-0. Don Criqui with Steve Tasker. Andy Reid told us when we met with him on Friday the 2 things he wants is improved play from his backups and a healthy team. He's gotten neither. He's gotten 3 guys who have gone off with injuries. He's had Lewis, Reese, and Semino all go off. So that's not good. And they've got only 19 yards offense, Steve, here in the second quarter.
Yeah, it's not looking good for Philadelphia. And, you know, you look back across history about, you know, what it takes to finish up a regular season and get into the playoffs, and, you know, history starts to play a part, and people think that what happened years ago is going to affect the way their team plays now. It really doesn't. I mean, this Philadelphia team is doing it the way Andy Reid thinks they need to get into the playoffs and play well. And they've got some experience. They've been in there 3 years in a row. They are trying to tweak it in a way that gives them a best chance.
Of course, they're really go-to back from a run catch standpoint. The terrific young player from Villanova, Brian Westbrook, is the second straight game they've held him out. And as McNabb told us, Steve, when we met with him, he said the guy that people should be focusing on is Brian Westbrook. He said this guy is terrific.
Particularly now that Terrell Owens is out of the lineup, Brian Westbrook becomes their go-to superstar guy, and he's a guy that's got 73 receptions as a running back. He leads the NFL. So the Eagles know, you know, they've got to have other guys step up, and Westbrook is going to have to be that guy.
Westbrook with a terrific numbers so far. He's rushed for over 800 yards, 4.6 a carry. He's caught 73, scored 9 touchdowns. But he is being held out totally the last 2 season games as Criqui has one slapped back at him. Looking towards Chad Johnson. Coming up on the next halftime report, join Greg, Dan, Shannon, and Boomer for all the latest NFL scores and highlights. All coming up on the next halftime report.
They'll straighten out the playoff picture. They'll have all the rundown on who's in, who's out, who can get in, and what it's going to take. And believe me, here in the last week of the season is kind of the way everybody likes it. Everybody's kind of got a chance. There's not that many teams completely out of it.
And right now we're going to see a long field goal try from 50 yards by young Shane Graham, a very good kicker. He's hit 2 of 3 from 50 plus. Drives the ball downfield and he knocks it through. So Graham hits a 50-yard field goal, his 3rd of the season, and the Bengals extend their lead to 17-0 over the best team in the NFC, although not all of them are in there. Job well done, although some people in Philadelphia are calling it the JV the Eagles are playing. They're playing their backup players.
Well, and really that, and we said at the opening, it removed all the excuses for Cincinnati, and in years past Cincinnati probably wasn't good enough to take advantage of a team resting their stars. But this Cincinnati team has emerged as a quality offense and quality defense. They're a complete team. Now they're missing a few little pieces, is Marvin Lewis, but they feel good about where they're headed. And let's face it, given the way they played in the 1990s, they are headed in the right direction.
Well, it gives them a lot of momentum if they can finish with 2 straight wins, get back to 8-8. And now a bouncing kickoff hit downfield and returned rather well by an up back who was in there to block. Looked like Josh Perry who got the ball.
You can talk about how this game has gotten to this point, 17-point lead for the Bengals. Well, turnovers always play a part. Justin Smith knocking the ball loose and recovering, and that's a huge play. And then, of course, Torrey James stepping in on the pass from Detmer to set up the last field goal by the Bengals.
So Andy Reid, who's had a tremendous run of success, be harking back to what Marvin Lewis said, who's a friend and an admirer of Andy Reid. He said Andy knows that he'll be judged on what his team does in the playoffs, and Lewis, in so many words, says he's doing the right thing by holding people out.
Yeah, and every coach would do the same. I mean, I told Andy, you know, why don't you just call the league and tell them you're good for now? We'll see you. We'll be at the beach for 2 weeks. You know, we'll run some pass plays in the sand and take it easy for a couple of weeks. That's what we really need to do.
Now the throw is made, and Mahi runs down the field inside the 35-yard line, working the sideline. Finally taken down by Kevin Casefaharn, but the Eagles finally break a big play with time winding down, 2:38 to go.
Now with just a half a minute left.
31 seconds to go.
With a half a minute left, great play as the ball goes out of bounds, stops the clock. All of a sudden, the clock ceases to be a consideration right now, Don. The Eagles, with 2 timeouts left, they can take some shots at the end zone, use the clock, use the middle of the field, and really try and get a touchdown right before halftime. 30 seconds is a long time with 2 timeouts.
A 29-yard gain with Mahe doing the hauling. And now they go to Eric McCoo, and he's down close to the 22-yard line.
And they'll take a quick timeout, Ms. Detmer, and that's a nice timeout. And it gives them a chance to line up with about 20 seconds left to take a couple of shots at the end zone. They got second and very short. It's a perfect time to do it. They're well within field goal range, so they're not risking that much as long as you can make sure that Koy Detmer does not take a sack.
Well, one thing you have to always, when you evaluate teams and what the Eagles and Andy Reid have, they have 9 Pro Bowl players. One would be considered now very doubtful if they do get to the Super Bowl. That's Terrell Owens. But that would mean they'd have 8 Pro Bowl players going into the playoffs, and that's twice as many Pro Bowlers as any other team in the NFC.
And you wonder why the Philadelphia Eagles and their franchise are in such great shape. And they do. They have a lot of great players that you can see right there. But, you know, this franchise, one thing that sets it apart is they are not afraid to say goodbye to good players.
That's right.
That has been their, I think, their strength. They said goodbye to Hugh Douglas and Jeremiah Trotter.
Then they said hello to Hugh.
And then they brought him back for less money. And those guys were happy to be here.
Here's Detmer. He's in trouble, and he's swept under. As coming up to get him is Kevin Hardy, outside backer. Well, when we were talking with the CEO and chairman of the Eagles, Jeffrey Lurie, on Friday at practice, the one thing he compliments that he really likes about Andy Reid, among other things, is he said he's not afraid to make the unpopular decisions. I said, what's an unpopular decision? He said, well, I'll tell you the biggest one, drafting Donovan McNabb when everybody in Philadelphia wanted Ricky Williams.
Yeah, Andy Reid makes tough decisions, and Jeff Lurie backs him up. I mean, this is a franchise that's got it together. They've got a lot of cap room. They've got 5 picks in the first 3 rounds of next year's draft. They've been in the championship game for the NFC 3 straight years, and they're the favorite to head back there this year. They do everything right, and you sit down in their cafeteria, you walk the halls of their facility. The thing that is different about the Eagles, and all the great teams are like this, everybody's in it together, from the secretaries to the janitors to the guys who sweep up to the players, the coaches, the ownership. Everybody is out to win football games together.
Well, like Trotter told us, he said it's a joy to play here. He said, I love coming to practice. Everybody does. As a long ball to the end zone is incomplete. Herring defending on the play.
You know, we spoke just a moment ago about Hugh Douglas and Jeremiah Trotter.
Greg Lewis, the intended receiver.
You're sitting in the locker room as a player, and you look around the league, and you think, wow, the grass must be greener over there, you know? And you think, I'm going to go try it. And you leave a place like Philadelphia, and you find out the grass isn't that much greener. And you come and you get a chance. These guys, Jeremiah Trotter and Hugh Douglas, got a chance to come back. And believe me, they're happy to be here.
And here is maybe the best field goal kicker in the league, in the opinion of a lot of people, going to his 3rd Pro Bowl, David Akers, trying a 46-yarder. There's a whistle before the snap, and a timeout was called by the Bengals.
Yeah, the Bengals tried to ice David Akers, and I used to hold for kickers when I played, Don, and it's amazing. You talk to them about, you know, does it bother you when they ice you as a kicker? Most kickers will say no. In fact, I like it when they call a timeout, because then you have extra time. You get your setting right. You can relax. David Akers can go over and get his cleats cleaned.
These are hardened professionals. This is like some 19-year-old college kid.
You're not talking about, you're right. You're not talking about a 19-year-old kid who's playing in front of 80,000 people in a college game. These guys are here because they earned the right. I mean, they make a living doing this. You give them extra time to prepare, and they're going to beat you.
Well, he's at 83% career field goals as David Akers. That's second all-time behind Vanderjack of the Colts. Akers works in a lot of different things to get good, one of them being Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He trains in that regularly, so it helps his concentration really to block everything out.
Never ice a veteran kicker.
Well, the veteran kicker just put it right down the pipe from 46 yards out, so I think he becomes the all-time leader, a new NFL record of 17 field goals for David Akers of 40 yards or more. That's how good he is out of Louisville in his 6th year.
You know, these guys are just too good. It's not nerve-wracking. He's on the best team in the NFC, headed to the playoffs, and they've got it in neutral right now. He's not going to worry about that kick. And although you may as well use your timeout, if you're Marvin Lewis, why not? I just don't think it's going to do you any good.
Well, it didn't there, but you can't take him into the second half, so.
Yeah, they don't. You don't take him home with you. And Andy Reid right there, you can tell. You know, Andy Reid's got. There are worse problems to have than being home field advantage sewn up and having to rest your starters. But I'll tell you what, when you're on the sidelines, and this is another benefit I think you get from resting your star players. Everybody on the sidelines gets frustrated because they'll look across and say, that's a team we should beat. and they don't like losing to a team they feel they should beat. And they're going to remember that. That's a frustration that will build up over the next couple of weeks. And when they finally get a step into a game in the playoffs with both hands free and both barrels blazing, they're really going to chew some people up.
Well, the first playoff game for the Eagles in 05. Well, there's an onside kick tried by Philadelphia. It is fielded nicely, though. Coming up with the ball is tight end Tony Stewart. And he gets to midfield, and that will do it for the first half of play. There's no language in the league bylaws about playing starters. It's strictly a coach's decision. That's the end of the first half, with Cincinnati in the lead 17-3 over the Eagles as Andy Reid lopes off. We'll be back with the Nextel halftime report after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS. At the half, the Bengals in the lead 17-3. As the Philadelphia Eagles, they came into this game hoping to get more production out of their backup troops, but so far in the first half, their offense has 16 yards rushing. Their defense has no sacks. They're not playing better than they did on St. Louis.
No, they're not. And they're finding out that the margin of error in the National Football League is this: if you show up and don't play your best, or if you don't play your best players, you're going to get beat. I mean, there are teams out there that are gunning for you. And the Philadelphia Eagles, they're coasting into the playoffs, and for good reason. They've earned the right. But the Cincinnati Bengals are going to beat them with their best players, because there is...
You think, though, they can turn it on and off and get back into 100-mile-an-hour speed?
Oh, I don't think there's any question. Philadelphia got there because they're a really good football team, and you can't put a price or buy the luxury of rest in the National Football League. Being healthy and being rested is better than a good game plan in some respects. When you look here at the guys that are benefiting from it, John Kitna having a good day, 125 with a TD. Detmer a little better than he played on last Monday night because they're throwing it a little more. And, of course, Rudy Johnson struggling against this Eagle defense. And McCoo, Roderick McCoo, getting a few carries there for the Eagles. And, of course, Chad Johnson and T.J. Hushmanzada really getting it done for the Bengals, as they have all season.
Eric McCoo looking to get a lot of carries today. A guy who led the NFL Europe in rushing, was the MVP of the World Bowl, former Penn State rusher, but only 16 yards rushing for the Eagles in the first half. The Eagles offense turned the ball over twice and did not force any turnovers. And as we mentioned, the Eagles, who led the NFL with 47 sacks coming in, no sacks today of Kitna.
You look around Philadelphia and you think about the atmosphere here. This is a team that's been so close to the Super Bowl for 3 straight years. It's almost like a Boston Red Sox mentality. When's it going to go wrong this year? And, you know, with them coasting and losing these last 2 games to what looks like maybe a loss today, I mean, they're kind of got that same mentality working here in Philadelphia.
Everybody's loves this team in Philadelphia, but everybody's nervous. As Roderick Hood runs it back, and then you listen to these talk shows, some of the information is really amazing. They were talking about the different guys who've run teams here, coached them, who've gone on to win championships someplace else, like Dick Vermeil winning a Super Bowl at St. Louis, and Larry Brown winning an NBA title at Detroit. Terry Francona.
Yeah, these are very knowledgeable fans, and they're very impatient. They have a very short fuse before they explode, and whether you're 13-2 or not, you better come out and play well, or you're going to hear it.
Well, it's been a long time. You know, they've been disappointed so many times. I mean, the Eagles have not won a championship in 44 years. 1960, they came from behind and beat the Packers at Franklin Field. And the only teams that have gone, the long-established teams that have gone longer without a championship, the Lions haven't won one in, I think, 46 years, and the Cardinals in 54 years.
I think it's even worse, Don, in some respects, a team like Philadelphia, who has done so many things so well, gotten so close in a league that really is tough to stay good for a long stretch. Well, they've done it for now 4 straight years with free agency, players leaving, players returning, and drafting at the bottom of the pack, and still staying quality and staying as an elite team is really difficult to do.
Here's Detmer putting a pass down the middle of the field, perfectly thrown. Puts it on the numbers, looks like as Freddie Mitchell comes down with the ball. He's in the 4th year of his 4-year contract, is Freddie Mitchell.
There you see the notes. 1967 Packers is the only team to win the Super Bowl after losing their last 2 regular season games. And that's interesting to me, but I'm telling you, I still believe Andy Reid is doing the right thing.
Right now, he's looking for I think they're going to open it up more. It certainly looks that way as they open the third quarter, pitching over the middle of the field. And that time the ball is thrown behind Billy McMullen. And it will be 2nd down and 10 from the 29-yard line of the Eagles. When they harken back, Steve, to that 1960 team, there's a lot of Hall of Famers. You had a Hall of Famer snapping the ball, Bednarik, to a Hall of Fame quarterback, Van Brocklin, throwing to a Hall of Fame receiver, Tommy McDonald. They had Retzlaff, Brookshire in the secondary. There's some great players in that team.
Great teams.
It's a long time ago, though.
Great teams, great accomplishments are always made by great players. And this Philadelphia team is no different.
On 2nd down and 10. To the run go the Eagles. Bednarik, I mean, he was phenomenal. In fact, I've heard it said that Bednarik was the best two-way football player in the history of the game. In fact, I think I've heard Charlie Bednarik say it a few times. But he was great. All those guys were.
Well, it was a different game back then, and the game has continued to evolve into the point where, you know, you look at these rosters now, you look back at those team pictures from those old teams, there isn't even enough guys, you think, to field a team. They only had 33 guys on the roster. It's almost double now, and even head coaches today will tell you 53 guys is not enough, particularly in a 16-game season.
They're down, needing 7. Here's the heat, and Detmer's a grounding. He didn't get outside the tackle box.
Yeah, the flag came out immediately.
Say, these Bengals are playing this like it's their Super Bowl. They sent Madieu Williams, that rookie. Man, he comes like a shot out of a gun.
And why not? I mean, the Bengals, you know, they've made some great strides. They've got teams.
Intentional grounding, number 10. This penalty is more than 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage, so therefore the ball will be placed at the spot of the intentional grounding. Loss of down.
This is the outside tackle box. He wasn't anywhere near it. I mean, he went straight back and got rid of that football. But you talk about these Bengals. I mean, there are a lot of guys on this Bengal team who went through a lot of bad seasons before Marvin Lewis came in and turned it around. And for them to get out here, I mean, they relished the fact that they were in the playoffs up until 2 weeks ago.
And again, the Eagles have to punt the ball as they hit it downfield. Ratliff, he lets it roll to the 40-yard line. So the Bengals will start with their first possession of the third quarter with good field position, a 43-yard punt and no return. We're back, and the Bengals have the ball for the first time in the second half, starting from their 39. Ernie Johnson running for a team record, but he's the one guy that they're putting hits on aplenty.
You go back to that punt, the Eagles punted back. Ike Reese is the Pro Bowler for the NFC. Watch what he does. This is a smart guy. Watch. You see Ratliff coming over. He tries to push him to get him to touch the football. Ratliff says, no, not this time. You always got to be thinking on special teams because you can always gain so many advantages because so much field is swapped on those punts, and it's the only time when you deliberately turn the ball over to your opponent.
The Eagles almost got one to run it back. That's Matt Ware, a rookie D-back, 21 from UCLA, their third-round draft choice. He was almost gone with it into the end zone.
Yeah, talk about a deliberate turnover. This one was almost an accidental one for John Kitna, and Ware was right in the right spot, and that's Jim Johnson knowing what's going on. They'd seen him run that. They tried to bait them into that quick throw to Chad Johnson and then slip somebody in quick to pick it off. Jim Johnson, maybe I should have put a wide receiver in to catch that ball at defensive back.
He almost had it. He had a hand on it. Now in 3rd and 12. Here's Kitna. Timing throw. Gets the ball to his tight end, Schobel, for the first time today. His 21st catch of the year is well short of a first down, and the Bengals will punt.
And here's why Jim Johnson is, you know, really well respected around the NFL. I mean, you know, I don't know, an expert analysis of that, that's pretty good. You know, that's, what can you say? And that's why the Eagles on that side of the football are just so good.
The punt hit downfield by Kyle Larson. And a daring return set up to the 28-yard line as Dexter Wynn runs it back. And a penalty marker's down.
This is on the far sideline, and that's an illegal guy down the field.
See, what did you think was the most important thing in playing on those Bills teams of going to 4 straight Super Bowls? in getting everything together going into the playoffs? Is it a mindset or what is it?
Philadelphia's declined a penalty.
The best thing is this. You have to remember that you earned the right to be there, and it's your chance to show off.
We're back. Third quarter of play. Cincinnati holding to a 17-3 lead. As the Eagles now go from their 28-yard line. Detmer on 1st and 10 looks at a blitz and throws it a hot area where the blitzer was coming from and makes a connection with Mitchell. A lot of key games today, and here's a look at the scores around the league. Bills have come back to take the lead on Pittsburgh.
And with the Jets trailing at St. Louis, that's huge. Buffalo could sneak into the playoffs after starting the season 0-4, actually 1-5, and of course Pittsburgh going into Buffalo with the opposite frame of mind that the Eagles are using here today, playing everybody.
Yeah, the Bills started 0-4, then 1-5 they were. Here's a wide open Mitchell running free in the secondary. And Mitchell takes a look at a defensive back, realizes inbounds and those people will hit you. Ducks out.
Not a great tackle by the defensive back, but a nice throw by Detmer. This is one they hit earlier in the game and came back to it here early in the second half. And watch here, little hit by Badu Williams, and then he finally decides to go out of bounds. You'll find that the ball is somewhat of a violence magnet. Nice to get out of bounds when you still got your head attached to it.
You don't stand there looking at him while you're in bounds. 1st and 10. And not a whole lot going on for Eric McCoo.
Well played at the point of attack there, but you look at this Bengals defense, this Bengals team coming in here with all this, not much at stake except their pride. And so many times you see teams with that at stake and they don't play their best. But the Bengals, I think, have turned a little bit of a corner. They go into games now not wanting to compete. We talked to Willie Anderson, their great right tackle, their Pro Bowl right tackle. He said, we expect to win. This is not like the old days where we're just happy to compete.
Here's a screen pass. They get it to Mahe, and he turns the corner and works it down close to the 31-yard line. He's going to be ahead on 2nd and 10 for a gain of 9. Just short of a first down. Well, a lot of Eagle fans also, Steve, how about the years of disappointment? A lot of times the last game didn't matter. Not because you were getting ready for the playoffs, because it didn't matter.
Right, because you weren't going anywhere the next week. But, if there's one thing I learned in those games, in all those 4 Super Bowls, of getting my head caved in, you get in there as a team, and the one thing we did not do in the Buffalo Bills in those early 90s when we were in the playoffs there in Super Bowl every year is we didn't play like we belonged there. I mean, I think it's important for these Eagles to realize they are good, and they need to go out with a swagger into the playoffs and act like they belong there.
There's a handoff to McCoo. They're not playing Levens either. Minnesota and Washington, a big game, and Greg Gumbel has more on it.
Don, lots of ways the Vikings can get into the postseason. The easiest way is to win this game at Washington. Dante Culpepper, 28 yards, and a terrific catch by Randy Moss. The Vikings pulled it within 4. Redskins lead at 14-10, 1:45 to play in the third, guys.
Terrific catch is right.
Well, it's routine for him.
That's a team. Yeah. Minnesota and Atlanta are the great unknowns, I think, in the NFC playoffs. They've got the talent to do it offensively, but if they can do it week in, week out, that's the question.
That was a concern. There's a beautiful throw downfield. They get it to Greg Lewis inside the 10-yard line for a first down, a 21-yard gain. As the Eagles now mount their best challenge. If there's one team I'd be concerned about if I was an Eagle fan or an Eagle, it'd be Carolina coming in here if they get in.
Yeah, you forget Carolina was in the Super Bowl a year ago, and they beat this Eagles team in the championship game, and they have really got it together. And I think you're right. There are a lot of teams that are locked in the NFC playoff races hoping Carolina doesn't sneak in.
See the Eagles in the second half starting to get some offense, and Cincinnati had virtually none in their possession, just 2 yards. Timing throw. It's picked off. What an interception by Delta O'Neal. His 4th interception of the year. A former Pro Bowl player with the Denver Broncos who fell in disfavor with Coach Shanahan out there.
And that's what he does. Delta O'Neal has maybe the best ball skills of a defensive back in the National Football League, and Coy Detmer just found out why.
See. We're back, and the Bengals on O'Neal's interception in the end zone. Have the ball, and the total history data is incomplete. That was the first red zone interception thrown by Eagle quarterback this season. Log on to NFL.com and read memories from former players and teammates of the great Reggie White. Hear what they have to say on NFL.com or on NFL on AOL. I saw Reggie in New York about 6 weeks ago, Steve, and ran into him, and he was putting together a sponsorship team for a NASCAR unit.
No other player maybe in the history of the league has commanded more respect on and off the field than Reggie White did during and after his career.
Well, Dick Vermeil said it. He said there's no question he's the best defensive player in the history of this league.
It's an argument that can be made, no question. I mean, this is a guy that Reggie White, you forget he played in the USFL as well. I mean, he's
2 years.
His career spanned a lot of teams, and it was kind of nice that Reggie didn't spend, in this respect, didn't spend his whole career with one team. A lot of guys were the benefit of being on a team with him than would have been had he been in one city. And I think a lot of guys were blessed because he did move around a couple of times.
Down 3rd down and 9. Kidner down the field, and look at the play by Johnson. Then he puts the ball on the field, and they're waving it off as an incomplete pass.
Well, earlier we saw the Eagles lose a pass completion because of that exact same thing, and now we see Cincinnati lose one as well. And this is a great catch. You see the great move to the outside. He looks and then turns back to the inside. That's a sensational route and a great catch. But you're right, that is an incomplete pass.
He was drafted in the 2nd round coming out of Oregon State. Was Chad Johnson, and now the Bengals will have to punt the ball. Kyle Larson standing back inside his 10. Dexter Wynn is back for the Eagles, coming up on the ball. He'll return it. He can't beat the gunner. Coming down the sideline and making the play is Reggie Miles, number 37. Back at the Lincoln Financial Field. Bengals looking to close with 2 straight wins and get to 8-8 for a 2nd straight year. Now Jeff Blake, a former Bengal. He spent 6 years quarterbacking Cincinnati. In fact, had 92 touchdown passes as a Bengal and over 15,000 yards passing. He was there as the quarterback from 94 through 99. And here's Jeff Blake with his first drop of the day. Screens the ball, and it's picked off. And it's run back inside the 20, and they're not done, as Robert Gathers is going to take it all the way in. So a rude welcome.
As lustily as Jeff Blake was cheered when he came in, it is not going to be that way when he comes in on the next series after the Bengals kick the ball back off to the Eagles. An ill-fated screen pass to the near side was batted and then caught by Gathers, and you'll watch, tipped there and then picked off the back of Runyon. I'm sorry, that's Shulo, Steve Shulo.
And it's a 37-yard return. Gathers knows what to do with it when he gets the ball.
He does. He looked good. Looked good doing it.
Well, this has to be uplifting for the Bengal fans. They were back in full force this season. All 8 home games at Paul Brown Stadium sold out. Over 500,000 attendance for the first time. And they'll be there again next year because there's a lot to look forward to with this team.
Hey, great offense sells a lot of tickets, and the Bengals have a very good offense.
And right now, a very good defense. Rookie Robert Gathers, first-year player out of Georgia, 4th-round draft choice of the Bengals with a momentous touchdown, his first in the NFL. As a defensive player, he ran it back 37 yards. Blake's first throw of the game going back the other way. And here's a ball on the field, and the Bengals have it. Miles and Wilkins were both on it. It is a Bengals ball, and now more on the Jets and the Rams as we go back to Greg in New York.
All right, thanks, Don. It was a 21-10 St. Louis lead on the kickoff. Jericho Cotchery scores his first career touchdown, 94 yards to make it a 21-17 game. Jets added a field goal. It's 21-20 Rams, 4.5 to play in the third.
Tell you, the plot thickening now. The Bills have come from behind. They've taken a 1-point lead over the Steelers, but they need either the Jets or the Broncos to lose in addition to a Buffalo win over Pittsburgh for the Bills to get in. Marvin Lewis, he asked him, who's the best team do you think in the NFL? He said, right now it's Buffalo. Here is a handoff to Rudy Johnson. He's inside the 10-yard line. How about the Saints and the Panthers? Back to Greg Gumbel.
Both these teams with a shot at a playoff berth. New Orleans has the edge. Aaron Brooks, 44 yards to Joe Horn with the extra point. The Saints now have the lead on Carolina, 21-10. Coming up on 2 minutes to play in the third. Don and Steve.
I'll tell you what, Don, that is a dogfight for a playoff spot.
They all are. I think that was Manning that got beat, the guy that had 3 picks against the Eagles last year. Play clock down to 2, so Kitna takes a timeout. He's gone all the way at quarterback. The Steelers and the Bills. For more, we go back to Greg Gumbel.
Well, the Bills' path to the postseason begins with a win over Pittsburgh. Tommy Maddox throws. Nate Clements picks it and returns it 31 yards for the touchdown. The Bills have grabbed the lead on the Steelers, 17-16 as they get underway in the fourth quarter, guys.
Wow, still a full quarter to go. There's about as much emotion in that building as any in the league when the Bills are rolling.
Well, there hasn't been a playoff game there since 1996, and that was when Jim Kelly was still playing. So that's a stadium that's hungry for a game with some meaning, and Pittsburgh coming in there and a game like that has given it to them.
If the Rams do hold on and beat the Jets, and if the Bills hold on and beat the Steelers, the Bills would go to the playoffs after that 0-4, then 1-5 start. On second and short, the handoff to Rudy Johnson, and he finds his way going low inside the 5-yard line and close to a first down. It'll bring up third and less than a yard if he didn't get there. Jerome McDougal tackled him.
I'll tell you what, I thought they gave him a bad spot. It looked to me like he got the first down and didn't get a very good spot. He's outside the 5-yard line. It looked to me like that was a very bad spot. He drove way across the 5-yard line. They brought it back outside the 5.
Rudy, of course, looking to surpass Corey Dillon as the all-time single-season rushing leader. He needs 81 yards today. The yards have come grudgingly. He's just getting 2 yards a carry. 18 carries, 36 yards against the Eagles.
You'll see here as they're going to measure. I think if you're Marvin Lewis, I'd almost challenge this. They're a foot short.
Well, they got 2 downs to get there. They'll probably kick a field goal if they don't.
Watch here, and he takes his time. Where does his foot hit? I think he dives across. I think he keeps his legs off the ground and dives across the 5-yard line. And that should be a first down if that's the case. If Marvin Lewis chooses. And you can challenge the spot of the football. Of course, Marvin Lewis chooses not to in this respect. I think it's a mistake. I think he gets it if he challenges that spot.
Well, he's not going to. It's third and inches. Rudy Johnson gets more than the first down. He gets the touchdown. And so in a day when the Eagles have turned the ball over 5 times and the Bengals have turned it over not at all, Rudy Johnson runs straight ahead for 6 yards and a touchdown. And the Eagles, playing backups, are getting blasted.
Yeah, they are. And they're playing a team that is really, you got to tip your hat to the Bengals. They did come out a little flat in their first series, but as soon as Philadelphia hit them in the mouth, the Bengals responded with 30 points and a bunch of turnovers.
Now the Steelers have taken the lead over the Bills after kicking a field goal. So it's that kind of a day, and it's a long way from over. We're still in the third quarter here at the Link in Philadelphia. As we'll watch Rudy Johnson right up the middle.
Marvin Lewis, second and short, boom. No celebration, just another day at the office for this guy, and that's why his teammates love him. There's no frills in number 32 for the Bengals. He is I mean, you get what you pay for with him.
Yeah, he said it's up in the air where I'll be next season, but he hopes it's at Cincinnati. The woman on tonight's 60 Minutes launched 17,000 websites. Is she the most beautiful woman in the world? Decide for yourself tonight on 60 Minutes. 17,000 websites.
As we look here, this continues to be a seesaw battle in Buffalo, and of course this with the return, that's a close game as well. This New Orleans jumping up on Carolina is a huge game as well. I mean, what a final weekend in the NFL. I mean, you love to see this, and that's what all these teams train for, they play for. They start mini camps in April and March, and it all culminates in the final weekend of the regular season with some teams doing everything they can to continue their season.
And now, Steve, with the Bengals absolutely in control of this game, 31-3, you have to believe that they're going to want to really get some yards running the ball for Rudy Johnson. His teammates to a man want to see Corey Dillon eclipsed as the all-time single-season rushing leader.
Think about what they've done. The Bengals defense has been the thing that has shown up today, Don. The turnovers have been the story of the game, and the reason this game's out of hand on the scoreboard, it's been turnovers. The forced fumble, the sack, the offensive line struggled up front, and then Coy Detmer with some bad decisions and some great plays in the secondary by Delta O'Neal, by Torrey James, and of course then the unexpected by Robert Gathers.
Our producer-director team today for CBS Sports, Ross Schneiderman and Kathy Barretto. The executive producers of the NFL on CBS are Sean McManus and Tony Petitti. As the Eagles get the ball out to receiver Greg Lewis. He's taken down by O'Neal. A 9-yard gain, though, on the play.
Well, what can you say? That's the difference, the turnovers. You can't turn the football over and do that. And 17 points, even that doesn't really say the difference. I mean, 17 points you take away from Cincinnati, they still lead this game handily.
Philly's been heavy Passover run in this game. They've now rushed the ball 10 times in the game, and they've passed it 36 times.
We're speaking with Donovan McNabb, and he made a good point. So many teams are going to be looking at Philadelphia, trying to scout them and trying to prepare for them. And when you come into the playoffs, the last game you're going to be able to look at is going to have happened almost 6 or 8 weeks before. I mean, nobody's going to get anything out of the game films that they played in the last 2 weeks, the last 3 weeks particularly. I mean, and so you're going to be starting really with a clean slate and trying to prepare for the Eagles.
Well, there's an argument to be made that the last really big game that the Eagles have played was December 5th when they beat the Packers badly. After that, they've went against 3 losing teams.
Well, I'll say this. The Eagles have had a great year, and when they've played in games that were meaningful, you can only look at one game where they didn't come out on top, and that's the Pittsburgh game. Other than that, when they've had to, they have stepped up.
But in the end, regular seasons are all conversation. As Marvin Lewis said, you're judged on what you do in the playoffs in this league.
Nobody knows that better than Andy Reid.
Here's a fastball, beautifully thrown, and McMullen making a good hands catch out of the 38-yard line. A first down and a 1st and 10 play they hit for 15. Landon Johnson makes the stop.
And you look here, this is the success they've had. It's been a long time. Well, it's been 4 or 5 years since anybody has put together 10, 12 or more wins in 3 consecutive seasons. Let me tell you something. 12 wins is a big year. You do that once, and it's great. You do it 3 times in a row, and that's phenomenal. And that's a good program by Andy Reid. It's something special when you do it 3 years in a row.
Well, they've been big winners. They've won more games over the last 5 years in the regular season than any team in football under Reid. The only team with 5 straight playoff teams. 5 straight divisional championships, including this year. Reid knows how to win. Of course, he was, before coming to Philadelphia, he's now in his 6th season here. He was the offensive coordinator under Mike Holmgren with the Packers and won a Super Bowl there. Second down. needing 7. Mahe finds a gap up the middle, and he's not done till he's inside the 40-yard line and down to the 37. Stopped by Madu Williams, but a gain of 22. Coming this Thursday to CBS, a new competition unlike anything you've ever seen. 12 of the most creative people in America face off in a battle that makes the action on the gridiron look downright friendly. Wickedly Perfect. It premieres Thursday at 8, 7 Central on CBS, America's most watched network.
For being the team with home field advantage, the Eagles have looked wickedly imperfect today.
There's Rudy logging some miles on the stationary bike.
It's a cold day. You got to stay warm.
The faster you pedal, the less ground you travel, but it keeps them loose. Here is the handoff straight ahead, and McCoo is down to the 31-yard line on a first down carry. He's from Red Bank, New Jersey, was one of the 2 or 3 top high school players in the country coming out of Red Bank High School, and had a great NFL Europe campaign. As we mentioned, he was the regular season rushing leader there, playing for Berlin, and then in the World Bowl, the 12th World Bowl, he was the MVP.
Yeah, NFL Europe has turned out some really good players, and I think for a lot of guys it's been a lifesaver, career saver. They've gotten a chance to develop a little bit, finally made an NFL roster, and a lot of them have had very good careers.
John Kidner was an MVP over there. Here's a throw and a drop inside the 25-yard line with 26 seconds to play in the third quarter.
Not only have they had good careers, some of these NFL Europe guys, their careers that probably would not have happened at all had it not been for the European League. And, you know, you're hard-pressed to find anybody who spent any time over there who doesn't have nice things to say about their experience and the way they play the game over in Europe. But by the same token, you see guys scattered all over the league now that have been brought over because of their shining play against the guys in Europe.
Blake makes the throw and gets it down to the 25-yard line. Greg Lewis making the catch. All these young receivers are looking to step up. Somebody's got to make up for the 77 catches and 14 touchdowns they got out of Terrell Owens in 14 games.
And that's a big question mark for the Eagles. I mean, Freddie Mitchell, who's drafted in the first round in 2001. Billy McMullen, third round in 03. Todd Pinkston, who was the second round of 2000. These guys have got to step up. Those are high draft picks, and they need them to step up this postseason like no other.
Blake sacked as he hesitates for a moment, and Big John Thornton sweeps him under. So that'll do it for 3 quarters of play as the Bengals hold to a 31-3 lead. We'll return to Lincoln Financial Field after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Donovan McNabb, the prime mover of the Eagle offense, has not been in for a snap today, being held out along with a lot of other regulars. In the days ahead, Steve, there's going to be a lot of conversation about the approaches to having home field. Andy Reid electing to hold out a lot of top people, losing his last 2 regular season games, and Bill Cowher and the Steelers playing like it's a playoff game, even though they have home field before the day began in the AFC, going up and beating Buffalo now 26-17. They were there early in the fourth quarter in that game. Here is McCoo running the ball.
Yeah, you talk about that and the reasons for both decisions. Andy Reid didn't want to get anybody hurt. Here he is holding guys out. But then Mark Semino has to leave the game, get his ankle x-ray. Now, those x-rays we've been told were negative, nevertheless. And then you see there Michael Lewis, who had to leave the game with low back problems. And then, of course, Ike Reese, the Pro Bowl special teams guy, was shaken up earlier in the game, although he did return.
Well, that is good news for the Eagles that Semino has no fracture. Here's a throw downfield, and the receiver, Billy McMullen, turning in. The ball was thrown out, and it's incomplete.
And it's also, you should note, too, up in Buffalo, Cowher did not play Ben Roethlisberger, who is injured, and Tommy Maddox has got them out to a 9-point lead over the Buffalo Bills in a game the Bills had to win. And you talk about a team that's got it going on. Pittsburgh on the road late in the year, playing really what some people thought, Marvin Lewis to be one of them, thought was the hottest team in the National Football League, and Pittsburgh taking it to them on the road.
Well, when we asked Andy Reid who's the best team you've seen, he said the Steelers. They dominated us on both sides of the ball. In his words, they gobbled us up and spit us out. That's what Reid said to us Friday. Here's a throw to the end zone, and it's incomplete. Billy McMullen running the deep pattern. Madu Williams with him stride for stride. And now with 14-15 left to play in the game and the Bengals continuing to dominate, there's this pause. We're back. Don Criqui with Steve Tasker. Lincoln Financial Field. Bengals looking to close with consecutive wins to get to 8-8 for the second straight year. And the handoff goes to Rudy Johnson as the Steelers loom large in the future of whoever might be going to the Super Bowl, because that might be the opposition, led by a rookie sensation Ben Roethlisberger at quarterback, a rejuvenated Jerome Bettis, Deuce Staley, and a stellar defense. The Steelers are real good, and they're showing it again today, winning by 9 at Buffalo in a game the Steelers didn't have to win. But Cowher said we're going in there to play it like it's for everything, and they're doing it. Penalty marker is thrown, and here is a hand up to Johnson. And he gets to the 31-yard line. If the play doesn't come back, it's an 8-yard gain.
And they continue to pound the football here late, and for good reason. I mean, why not give Rudy Johnson some carries? He's carried you for the entire season. Give him a chance to get more yards, break the team record. Is something the team wants. The offensive line really wants it. It's a good statement about where your offense is.
Defense, number 65. It's a 5-yard penalty, still second down.
Tell you, projecting to the Super Bowl, if it ever should be the Eagles and the Patriots, the Eagles do not match up well against the Patriots. Patriots have beaten in the last 2 preseasons. I know it means nothing, but it does, because when ones were against ones, the Patriots dominated. And the Patriots came in here last year in the regular season and also dominated the Eagles. Here's a pitch back. Rudy Johnson turns it up and out. He's heading towards the record as he's not done till he crosses midfield. And they're going to spout him out of bounds all the way out at the 46-yard line of Philadelphia.
What a great run by
25.
Rudy Johnson. Got up the sideline, showed great patience at the line of scrimmage, and then just didn't give up. Stayed in bounds, kept his feet, watches the 2 guard tackle pull out in front, turns up, waits for his blocks, misses the pursuit from the backside, spins, stays in bounds. Now, you want to know how to rush for 1,400 yards. That shows you how. 9 yards shy at this point of Corey Dillon's single-season record.
Record could go at any moment. First and 10. Kidna looking for all of it. He's got Houshmandzadeh, and he loses the ball. It is broken up. Coming over to make the play was Dexter Wynn.
When you talk about one of the things that Marvin Lewis told us that his team had to adjust to with Carson Palmer out of the football game and John Kidna in, the field gets a lot bigger with John Kidna in the game. I mean, he can't make the throws Carson Palmer does. This ball should have been out to the sidelines down there. John Kidna throws it too far inside and just a little short. Houshmandzadeh had some separation, and Kidna had trouble getting the ball all the way out there.
That brings up second down and 10. Kidna, nice timing throw to Houshmandzadeh down to the 40-yard line of the Eagles. A gain of 6 yards. That's going to bring up third down and about 4. Tackled by Labinjo.
Now, if this game happened early in the season, you know, there's a real reason for the Eagles to look around and say, what's going on? But, you know, at this point, the Eagles right now are thinking about 2 weeks from now. Their minds are 2 weeks down the road, and they're thinking about where they're going to be and who they're going to be playing in 2 weeks. They've already exited the building mentally.
I don't think that's a good thing. What are they out there for if they exit the building? Here's a throw in the flat. Houshmandzadeh has it. First down and more. He turns the corner, and he's out of bounds at the 20-yard line. The Vikings and the Redskins still at it. And here's Greg.
All right, Don, Vikings are looking like they're going to have to find some other way into the postseason, because it doesn't look like they're going to beat the Redskins. Liddell Bett's 1-yard touchdown run extends the Washington lead to 21-10, coming up on 3:45 to play in the fourth quarter, guys.
And there's the playoff picture. Thanks, Greg. As you look at the Vikings win today at Washington or a Carolina loss or a St. Louis loss. Got a weak defense, the Vikings. If they do get in, I don't think they're going to go far. The Jets and the Rams. That's been going back and forth. And the Jets are doing better. Here's Greg Gumbel.
Don, the Jets win, and they're in the playoffs. Mark Bulger throws, passes, tipped. Jonathan Vilma, the rookie, picks it off and returns 38 yards for his first career touchdown. Jets lead the Rams 26-21. Coming up on 12 minutes to play in the fourth quarter.
Man, winning in for the Jets. It's that simple.
I tell you, they've been getting beat up in New York. The Jets. Unbelievable. And how about the Steelers, who went on a mission to Buffalo even though they didn't have to win?
Well, okay, Don, since you asked, Buffalo needs to win and get help, and right now they're having trouble winning. Drew Bledsoe fumbles. James Harrison picks it out of the air and returns 18 yards. The Steelers lead the Bills 26-17, 6:04 to play in the fourth.
And there's the muddled picture for the Bills. They've got to win, and then they hope the Jets or Denver loses.
Right now it's beyond murky, that picture. Cool Bills. Pitch toss, and running with the ball is Watson, and he is down to the 5-yard line. And these Bengals came in here. They're not looking to build a lead and then run out the clock. They're going for bonus.
Yeah, they are.
To score 50.
And they are. And this is, you know, this is it for them. I mean, they're down to their last 10 minutes and 41 seconds of their season. And these seasons don't start on opening day. They start in February and March, through the drafts, through the mini camps, and all these guys, I mean, at certain times of the season, in the regular season, preseason, and off-season, have spent time in the training room, injured, trying to rehab and lifting and working, and now they're down to their final 10.5 minutes.
You just saw how they've dominated on the ground today, and they do again. That's the third rushing touchdown of the day, and it's Rudy Johnson on the payoff end, his second. So a bad situation for the Eagles gets much worse.
Well, when you're not going to play your best, you're not going to look your best, and the Eagles are finding that out in a big way today.
Actually, that's Rudy's third touchdown. He's having a great day. He's had a lot of them as a Bengal. They traded Corey Dillon, traded him to the Patriots for a #2 draft choice, which turned into Medill Williams, who they think is going to be a all-pro quality defensive back. Had a terrific first year. Rudy Johnson up to 79 yards, and he scored 3 touchdowns. We're back at the link. Rudy Johnson is now 2 yards short of breaking the single-season rushing record for the Bengals. Record held by Corey Dillon, now the Patriots. Short kickoff, and the ball will be possessed by the Eagles at about their 37-yard line. Yardage is pretty even. 275 for the Bengals, 274 for the Eagles, but 5 Eagle turnovers. Coming Sunday, January 23rd to CBS, get ready for a whole new kind of crime solving. 2 brothers, one's an FBI agent, the other's a math genius. Their secret weapon for cracking cases, numbers. From groundbreaking directors Tony and Ridley Scott, Numbers premieres Sunday, January 23rd on CBS, America's most watched network. Blake lobs it over the middle. Mahe stopped at about the 40-yard line. On a first down catch, a gain of about 4. Brian Simmons with the tackle. As we look at the numbers that really are counting today, as the Jets have rallied back on the rookie interception return, Vilma. The Steelers have taken command at Buffalo late in that game.
And Baltimore still has an outside shot at the playoffs. If the Jets lose, Buffalo loses, and Denver loses tonight against Indianapolis, and Baltimore wins, they could get in.
By about 7 o'clock, 7:10, we'll know, because the late game tonight means nothing. Dallas and the Giants. 11-yard carry on the play.
And this is going to be a face mask.
Who gets it? There is a face mask.
You know, the best thing for the Philadelphia Eagles to do after this game is to throw the tape into the trash and start talking about their next game in the playoffs. Andy Reid should just absolutely flush this tape down the toilet.
Well, McNabb said that the teams who are going to play in the playoffs probably won't look at these last 2 games. If they want to pick up their spirits, they will. But have you amended your thinking at all, Steve, about...
No, in 2 weeks, they're not going to remember this game at all. It's not going to mean anything. The anticipation of the playoffs is so great, both by the fans and the players, and especially the coaching staff. You know, this game's a wash. I mean, they're not even going to remember it.
5-yard face mask, number 34, defense.
You want to look, this is a textbook face mask, as you see here. Kevin Casefaharn grabs it and pulls the mask. Easy call, and he's lucky he got away with a 5-yard and not a personal foul 15-yard penalty.
Casefaharn, a free agent, was teaching school as a substitute teacher. Got a call and has really played well. He's now in his 4th year with the Bengals.
We talk about a guy who appreciates his job. Casefaharn is that guy.
Yes, he does. And now McCoo gets another carry. The Eagles looking to run clock and get back to the Eagles' beautiful practice facility, the NovaCare Center. Andy Reid, we asked him what his programs. He says he's probably going to give him off until Thursday, have him in for a hard workout Friday, give him off Saturday and Sunday, and then really start cracking on the following Monday.
And I'm telling you, that rest is unbelievably valuable for these guys. I mean, it's going to be, they're going to feel so refreshed, so ready to go in and play, and they don't know just yet whether it's going to be Saturday or Sunday in 2 weeks that they play. That still has yet to be determined.
Yep, Blake having trouble getting the ball over the middle field. It's slapped down as he tried to go to McCoo, and Gaithers, who ran back an interception on Blake's first pass when he came in the second half, slaps that one down. The Patriots are the number 2 seed in the AFC. Of course, they are the winners of 2 of the last 3 Super Bowls, led by quarterback Tom Brady, a 2-time Super Bowl MVP before he was 27 years old. And now Corey Dillon, the former Bengals, their go-to runner. We asked Marvin Lewis the best team. He said right now it's Buffalo, and he said the best player that we faced is Tom Brady. He said he's the sharpest. He makes it happen.
Yeah, he does. As you see there, obviously a penalty there on.
We knew it was going to be a pass.
Yeah. Number 77, offense, 5-yard penalty, remains 3rd down.
As Marvin Lewis told us, you know, Tom Brady was the best guy there. He said he did it better than anybody. He just makes plays. Andy Reid told us that, and you know, that's as a player, and you see one of the great things about being a player is the thing that means the most to you is when your peers, other players, or particularly coaches of other teams say good things about you, because those are the guys that really have to prepare. And when they compliment you, I think it means more to you as a player than anything. That's why players covet that Pro Bowl selection so much, because the players and coaches account for 2/3 of the vote.
Oh, yeah, that's unbelievable honor. Throwing a catch, and on a 3rd down play, it's short of the 1st down. On 3rd and 10, there's a gain of about 8 on the play. It might be another face mask, though.
Greg Lewis took a shot across the face. You see him there squinting.
Personal foul, grabbing the face mask, number 97, defense. It's a 15-yard penalty. 1st down.
And that was the personal foul type. Watch as he comes back inside. As we said earlier, it is a violence magnet. Pulled right over the top of that. It looked like it could have been very serious. With Delta O'Neal, it's more of a, I don't know if you call that a face mask or just a swat to the face. I don't know.
It's only the 3rd penalty in the game on the Bengals. They've had penalties on consecutive plays. 2 of the last 3 plays, but they only have 3 for the game. The Eagles have been penalized 7 times. These Eagles getting ready now for a little time off. There's a throw in the flat, and they get the ball to a tight end, Mike Bartram. Sure-handed guy, and he's down close to the 5-yard line. It'll be 1st and goal. A gain on the play of 15 yards on a 1st and 10.
Mike Bartram smiling. This is a guy that is the long snapper for the punter. And also, obviously, yes, he minored in track in college there as a high hurdler, which is why he stuck to football. But there's a guy, you know, everybody gets in the game. Mike Bartram is a tight end technically, but he's a guy that usually plays right over the football and snaps the ball to Dirk Johnson.
Yeah, he's one of the best long snappers in his 11th year from Marshall.
Believe me, you don't want to get his hand broken.
No. Or anybody's. Here is Blake lobbing a ball, and he goes back, and this time he goes to his fullback, Josh Perry. And not much happening for Josh. He's slammed down by Madieu Williams for a loss of a couple of yards.
You know, it's interesting that the Philadelphia Eagles, they go down and Coy Detmer is the second backup, and then you get Jeff Blake. These are two guys that have been around the league for a while. I think that's one of the luxuries that the Philadelphia Eagles have. And forget about the fact that they, you know, particularly Detmer has not played well in his 2 trips in the field on Monday night last week, and today did not play all that well, although he played much better. These are 2 experienced quarterbacks, and those are exactly the kind of guys you want in the playoffs.
Blake swings it out, and a big hit is put on. As coming up to make the play was Torrey James, putting a pop on Greg Lewis, and that's going to bring up 3rd and goal from inside the 5-yard line.
You can look at the Bengals and say they have the same thing going for them, although they're not going to the playoffs. John Kitna is an experienced starter like Jeff Blake is. Watch Roderick McCoo make the block here on the blitz pickup. The big guy takes on, and that's a big guy. That's Dwayne Clemens, the defensive end. Gets chopped down.
Let's see what they go to now on 3rd and goal. There is a throw and a touchdown as Blake puts a fastball on the numbers of Freddie Mitchell, and his 2nd touchdown of the season is recorded from 3 yards out. So I don't know if these are derisive cheers or what, but what's left here at the Link, they're up and cheering. And the Eagle offense, it hasn't done much today.
That gets a little bit of the self-respect back for the Eagles. And now, as we said a moment ago, the tight end goes down and plays center.
Akers bangs it through. Boy, he's some asset going to the playoffs.
The key to the drive, Mike Bartram, perfect on the snap.
With Steve Tasker, this is Don Criqui back in Philadelphia, where the Bengals now continue to command the game as it's a 38-10 score. The Eagles finally getting a touchdown on the touchdown throw.
There you see the Eagles, not the way you want to finish offensively in the regular season. 22 possessions it took them to get their touchdown.
Kickoff hit downfield, and here is Kenny Watson from the 5. 20, and that's it. They'll spot his forward progress to the 20-yard line. The number 3 seed in the American. For us, it's the Colts. They're too fast for us.
And you see there the 28th ranked defense in the league. And the Colts trying to do it much like the Rams did 5 years ago with all offense.
Rudy Johnson is now the guy that's really beloved by his teammates, and he gets the single-season rushing record for the Bengals.
You can see all the offensive linemen. They all take pride in that. We spoke to Willie Anderson yesterday, and he really is a great one. He says, you know, the offensive line, it's a team thing. You know, if the team does well, it's because the offensive line is playing well. You know, you never see any offensive lineman jerseys for sale. You know? So you have to take it as a team and enjoy it.
Willie Anderson has been playing all year with an ailing right knee. He'll undergo surgery next week. He, of course, is headed for the Pro Bowl for a 2nd straight year. If depending on what the surgery's like, he said if it's major surgery, and he's been told, of course, he won't be rehabbed at all nearly in time.
And there you see the football that Rudy Johnson got, 1,450 yards rushing. And that football will, I'm sure, have a place of prominence in Rudy's house.
And 12 touchdowns this season, and 3 of them today. Quick hitch goes out to Hushmanzada. And he takes the ball out close to the 39-yard line, and the clock continues to run down to 4:45 to play.
T.J. Hushmanzada trying to get 1,000 yards receiving on the year. And that's, you know, you think about that, and we showed it a little earlier that Hushmanzada and Chad Johnson set the record, the club record this season for most yards by a duo. And he is, as you see, 24 yards away.
Second down, there's not much happening up the middle. It'll bring up 3rd down and about 3. As the carry by Watson, they take Rudy out. He's roundly congratulated. So Mike Brown, who the owner and runs the Bengals, he's got, I think, a team that's on the way up. You know, you look what San Diego did in the space of a year. They're a lot farther along, it would seem, than San Diego was a year ago.
And now they need to take their time and sign Rudy Johnson again. His contract is going to be up, and you know, because of, I don't know what is, whether it's because of his personality or because of the history of this franchise, you know, are they going to re-sign Rudy Johnson? What's it going to take? And I think he leaves them with no choice after the season is done.
Ball on the field. The Bengals get it back. Watson carried, lost it, and got it back. The Rams have gone back on top, and the Bills now down by 5. Man, what a day.
The Jets losing to St. Louis now after taking the lead. I'll tell you what, it's almost a shame, but I think the Philadelphia fans will sit back at home and watch Wild Card Weekend, obviously with very high interest. But for me, Wild Card Weekend in the playoffs in the NFL is the best weekend of any playoff weekend, because both teams and in all the wild card games are just so happy to be in the playoffs. They give it everything they've got. You see absolutely fantastic games, a lot like this weekend.
Well, all the coaches, Steve, as we look at a first down run by Rudy Johnson, good for about 5, tackled by Reed, talk about how the games speed up even from the regular season when you get to the playoffs.
Yeah, and then there's no holds barred. I mean, as you see there's the schedule for next for CBS. The wild card game starts at 1 p.m. Eastern.
NFL today at 12 noon. I know the Patriots prepare for Super Bowls. They really look to take one key offensive, their defensive game plan, out of the game. When they played the Rams in the regular season, it was take Warner out, rush him, send extra rushers at him every down. When they got to the Super Bowl, they never did. They took Marshall Faulk out of the game.
Yeah, you take one thing away, and then do what you can with the rest.
Here, they're going to try to take away, if they ever get there, the great little running back, Westbrook. Bengals scored early and have never looked back as they've taken command here at Philadelphia and lead 38-10. Don Criqui with Steve Tasker. Time for Super Bowl predictions. I say Pittsburgh Steelers versus Philadelphia Eagles.
I think it's an all-Pennsylvania Super Bowl this year for the first time ever. Tough game to call between these two teams.
Gotta favor Pittsburgh.
I think so.
Absolutely manhandled the Eagles the first time they played.
And I think that'll be have a big say on who's favored and who's not. But I think it's going to be an all Pennsylvania Super Bowl in Jacksonville.
The 4th seed in the AFC, the San Diego Chargers, and Drew Brees is the comeback story of the year. He's just been terrific, and his tight end Antonio Gates has emerged as a prolific receiving threat to complement LT LaDainian Tomlinson. On the defensive side, Donnie Edwards anchors the Chargers defense. There's the last season.
There's the surprising thing.
That is unbelievable.
Unbelievable turnaround. The same head coach who has really changed his own personal philosophies has Marty Schottenheimer. I think he's a great candidate for Coach of the Year.
Well, I think Marty's going to be right there. Jim Mora Jr. He'll be right there, the Atlanta coach. Pause in the action gives us a chance to tell you that the executive producers of the NFL on CBS are Sean McManus and Tony Petitti. Today's game was produced by Ross Schneiderman and directed by Kathy Barretto. The senior producer of CBS Sports in the NFL today is Eric Mann. The director, Bob Mattina. Coordinating producer of CBS Sports is Harold Bryant. The associate directors of today's game are Andrew Kaplan and Sarah Rinaldi. The broadcast associate is Kamani Morales. The technical manager, Tom McCarthy. The technical director is Colby Bourgeois. The audio supervisor is Patrick Thornton. The men and women of CBS Sports. And we thank them all for their great work all season long. And heading into the playoffs now as the punt is hit downfield. And this is the kind of day it's gone for the Bengals. They're going to roll the balls down an inch from the goal line. Now they say it went in.
Yep.
Tomorrow on CBS is all new, beginning with Still Standing and the new comedy Listen Up. And don't miss TV's most watched comedies, Everybody Loves Raymond and 2.5 Men starring Charlie Sheen. Followed by an unforgettable new episode of Monday's #1 show, CSI Miami. Plus The Late Show with David Letterman and the premiere of The Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson. All new tomorrow right here on CBS.
As we get late word from Buffalo, Pittsburgh has won that ball game in Buffalo, which means the New York Jets are in the playoffs no matter what the outcome of their game in St. Louis. So the Jets are in.
Most people don't know how deep feelings run between Cower and Donahoe. Donahoe leaving at Pittsburgh, going to run Buffalo. They, as you put it, Steve, they do not exchange holiday greetings, to say the least.
And the Jets.
Power went up there and knocked the Bills out of the playoffs.
That game in St. Louis is meaningless now for the Jets, although not for St. Louis.
Thanks to our CBS statistician, Bill George, and to our spotters, Lenny Patton and Kevin Bonner. As we're down the stretch run now, the Bengals will close with 2 straight wins. They will win 8 games, go 8-8 2 consecutive years. Might not seem like a lot to Eagle fans who are used to all this winning, but the Bengals have not gone back-to-back years with teams that weren't under 500 at least one of the years since 89-90. Bengals have not been to the playoffs in a long time. 14 years, and their last 10-win season was 16 years ago. So they're building, they're getting better, and they've got a quarterback you didn't see today, Carson Palmer. This guy is really good.
If you haven't seen him yet, you will. And you see Mike Bartram making another catch. The guys who actually did get a play today for the Eagles, believe me, Don, they really enjoyed it. I know they didn't play well. They're going to get beat pretty soundly here today, but most of these guys who are usual backups really appreciate the opportunity to get out and play a long time in a game like this.
And John Kitna, see, you have to applaud him. He really managed the game very well today. He had 16 of 27 passes for 160 yards, 1 touchdown, never turned it over, as the Bengals played a very sound game, and really the Eagles were never in it.
I see Chad Johnson giving his running mate T.J. Hushmanzada a hug. The season's over. I mean, he won't see the field again until next year in 05. Well, he probably will at the Pro Bowl.
This guy's really a fun guy when you spend time with really Chad Johnson.
And you talk about
he just loves it.
You're right. And you talk about him, and a lot of these guys, and I said it was kind of part of the job description. Terrell Owens and Chad Johnson, they're really engaging guys. It's part of their makeup, their personality, and I think it's part of what makes them great.
Well, these guys all like playing for Marvin Lewis. And this is a team on the rise as rolling out. Not much happening. Justin Smith putting heat on. As the game clock down to 39 seconds left to play, Jeff Blake trying to make something happen against his former team. The Jets are in. So there's one to be decided, and the Denver Broncos can win their way in.
Coming up in our second half of our doubleheader, Denver hosting the Colts out in the mountains.
3rd down. Blake is going to keep on firing, albeit with little success as he tries to go to Bartram. That brings up 4th down.
Now, if we get in the last half a minute of the regular season, thanks for being in the booth with me, big guy. It was a fun year.
Great to be with you, Steve. And you got to give us now a scenario for the Eagles. How do you best get ready to make a run to the Super Bowl?
Well, when you get there, when you get in here and you host that first team who's just won a wild card game, you've got to hit them in the mouth. The Eagles have to know this. Despite what they saw here today and last week and Monday night, this is a team that is the class of the NFC. They need to act like it, be confident, and just go for it on every play. There's no reason to hold back. Their discipline and their atmosphere that Andy Reid has got going in Philadelphia will take over. These guys are going to play hard, disciplined, and smart, and now all they got to do is go for it. No holding back. And I think if there's anything I regret about losing 4 straight Super Bowls, that's it.
Well, how about being in 4 straight? I don't think you'll ever see that again.
Well, you may or you may not, but I'll tell you what,
never see that
I think
again.
you're going to see. I think you're going to see one team, the Philadelphia Eagles, get to 4 straight championship games, and I think this is the year.
That's a big difference. They're looking to go to the first Super Bowl since '80.
I think this is the year they're going to break through.
Well, I think one of the things when you're around the Eagles, I think they expect to win. I think they think they're going to the Super Bowl.
And they should. They should. They've got all the pieces in place there. They've got a great defense, a great aggressive philosophy. Jim Johnson has them playing. Andy Reid handles his team. He's got a hand on their pulse. He doesn't miss a beat. And every big decision that comes down the pike for Andy Reid, he makes the right one.
Well, the Eagle fans, you can only say good luck. You guys have waited a long, and Gales have waited a long time. For the Bengals, you're on your way up.